Chapter 541. Hi! What did you say? You found Zaheo? Wei Xinghe looked at the Grand Steward with a face full of surprise. Mrs. Wei was also so startled that she trembled a little. Uncle Hai, are you serious? You found my brother? Wei Zian was equally overjoyed. Over 2 months ago, news had come from Jizhou. It was said that the Qingyun Sword Pavilion had offended some unknown enemies, and in one night, it was uprooted. Not only were 8 or 9 out of 10 of the sect disciples killed, but even the sect's gates were burned to the ground. Only a few disciples who were out managed to escape by a fluke. After receiving this news, the Wei family was naturally very anxious, because their eldest young master, Wei Zihao, was a disciple of the Qingyun Sword Pavilion. Wei Xinghe had immediately ordered to search for Wei Zihao at all costs. If he was alive, they needed to see him, and if dead, they needed to find his body. However, after more than 2 months, they had still not found a trace of Wei Zihao. Just when Wei Shanhai and the others were beginning to think that Wei Zihao might have died during the calamity at the Qingyun Sword Pavilion, unexpectedly, the Grand Steward brought news that Wei Zihao had been found. Yes, my lord, madam, 2 days ago, our spies found the young master in the state mansion. As soon as I received this news, I immediately came to inform you, the Grand Steward said respectfully. How heir is in the state mansion? Then why hasn't he come home directly? Wei Xinghe wondered. According to the reports from the spies in the mansion, the young master seems to be with several of his peers from the Qingyun Sword Pavilion. Moreover, they looked very panic-stricken, as if hiding from something in fear. The spies did not know the reasons and did not dare to reveal themselves and disturb the young master. They merely observed and protected him from the shadows. How heir is hiding from someone in fear? Wei Xinghe realized, and then it hit him. That's it. The Qingyun Sword Pavilion was destroyed overnight. To this day, no one knows who was behind it. How heir must know something, or he may be afraid of involving the family. That's why he hasn't returned home and isn't contacting us but hiding in the state mansion. To destroy a powerful major sect like the Qingyun Sword Pavilion silently in one night, whoever did it must be an extremely powerful force or cultivator. Regardless of which one it was, neither was something the Wei family could afford to provoke. Perhaps Wei Zihao considered this and decided to remain hidden abroad instead of fleeing back to the Wei family. But how could Wei Xinghe stand by and watch his son in danger without doing anything? He immediately indicated that he would go to the state mansion to bring Wei Zihao back. Dad, wait! However, just then, Wei Zian spoke up to stop his father. This matter is of great importance. We should consult with young Master Lu Qing before making any plans. Although he was equally concerned about his brother's safety, after listening to Uncle Hai, Wei Zian had instinctively sensed a hint of danger. He would not take his own intuition lightly. In these past few months, the origin energy of the world that was within him had fully integrated into his body, causing him to undergo a rebirth. Not only had his talent greatly increased, but his intuition had also become very acute. So upon detecting that vague sense of impending danger, he did not dare to be careless. Consult young Master Lu. Wei Xinghe hesitated, but young Master Lu is hosting a feast for the villagers of Jili Village today. He must be busy at this moment, and wouldn't it be a bit inappropriate for us to disturb him now? Wei Xinghe held Lu Qing in high regard. He was always quite reserved when he met Lu Qing, not nearly as close as Wei Zian was to Lu Qing. Young Dr. Lu Qing won't mind. Wei Zian said, Dad, Qingyun Sword Sect was one of the most powerful sects in Jizhou, yet it was destroyed overnight. The culprit must be a terrifying figure, far stronger than we can imagine. If you rashly go to the state mansion and accidentally reveal yourself and get discovered by the killer, what then? Therefore, we should plan this carefully and ask for opinions from young Dr. Lu and Elder Chen first. At the very least, we need to ask for guidance from our ancestors. Wei Zian analyzed the situation to his father bit by bit and then advised him. In Wei Zian's heart, both Lu Qing and the elder doctor's insights and strengths were incomparably formidable. Hence, it was only proper to seek their advice on the matter. However, Seeing Wei Zian talk so eloquently made not only Wei Xinghe and his wife but also housekeeper Wei freeze in astonishment. They seemed somewhat unable to believe that the delicate and naive young master from before could articulate such thoughts. Master, an heir is right. We should discuss the matter with young Master Lu and the others. Mrs. Wei chimed in at this moment. Good. Let's follow an heir's advice. I was too impatient just a moment ago. Wei Xinghe realized that, indeed, he had been too anxious and did not see things as clearly as an heir. Thinking this, he looked at his younger son with satisfaction. An heir? You truly have grown up. You've become even more stable than your father when facing problems. Wei Zian blushed slightly. Thank you for the praise, father. I understand that you are just concerned about big brother's safety, and that's why you reacted that way. Seeing him like this, the look of satisfaction on Wei Xinghe's face deepened. At the same time, he felt incredibly fortunate. He had been right to agree to let his younger son go out and gain experience with Lu Qing and the others. Indeed, one of the best decisions of his life. Seeing Zian return from his experiences in Central State completely transformed, not only had his cultivation significantly increased, now he was in the initial realm of inner organs, not too far from the minor success realm, ranking him among the top masters of the state mansion. But most importantly, he had matured a great deal in his mindset and was fully capable of standing on his own. The counsel he had given a moment ago to stop him, Zian would have never been able to articulate half a year earlier. Zian, you're right, we should consult young Master Lu and the others about this. However, since young Master Lu is hosting a banquet today, it wouldn't be right to dampen his spirits. Let's seek his advice after the feast, Wei Xinghe said. But father, in that case, about big brother. Wei Zian hesitated. The better part of 2 months has already passed. There is no rush at this exact moment. Since your brother has chosen to hide in the state mansion, he obviously has some assessment of his own safety. You were right before. It could be detrimental if I recklessly went to meet him. Let's go. Young Master Lu has invited us to his banquet today. It's time we headed over. When Wei Xinghe and the others arrived at the Lu family residence, Lu Qing had just about finished preparing the dishes. Young Master Lu. Master Wei, you have arrived. Please have a seat, the feast will start shortly. Little Yen, take Master Wei and the others to see Master, Lu Qing called out. Then they saw little Yen run out of the house. Auntie, let's go inside. Grandpa Chun and Grandpa Wei are both in there. Grandpa is here too? Wei Xinghe was somewhat surprised. Ever since Wei Shanhai had received the cultivation legacy from Lu Qing, he rarely appeared at home. Often moving mysteriously and unpredictably, he was either in the half-mountain small courtyard or off to an unknown location cultivating. Even Wei Xinghe seldom got to see him, yet unexpectedly he had time to come to the feast today. Nevertheless, this was a good thing. Thinking of Wei Ziheo's situation and with the grandpa present, Wei Xinghe felt even more at ease. At least, after the banquet, he would not have to struggle to find the elder's whereabouts. When Wei Xinghe and the others entered the house, Lu Qing also began to formally serve the dishes. He first lifted the lid off the pot that had been stewing meat. Instantly, a rich aroma of meat wafted from the pot, quickly filling the entire courtyard. How delicious! For a moment, everyone in the courtyard couldn't help but sniff the air. All eyes were focused on Lu Qing. Then they saw him scoop out bowl after bowl of succulent red meat chunks from the big iron pot, which were then carried by the villagers serving food to each table. Once the meat was placed on the tables, it quivered slightly, extremely tender and rich in juices. Even someone like Wei Xinghe, who had seen his share of fine foods and was accustomed to lavish meals, found himself suddenly craving a bite. Chapter 542. Supreme Delicacy, Sword Talisman. Young Master Lu actually made so much braised pork? Mrs. Wei looked at the bright red, glossy pieces of meat with some surprise. Madam, did you say this is braised pork? Wei Xinghe asked. How come it doesn't quite look the same as the one made in our house? The dishes made by young Master Lu are always quite different from others. Our house's cooks can never achieve such a shiny, reddish color for the meat, Mrs. Wei said with some regret. 2 or 3 years ago, she was rescued by Lu Qing from the mountains, and after coming to Jili village, the first meal she ate included braised pork. She had never forgotten that taste. Later she also asked Lu Qing for the recipe, but somehow, the cooks in the house could never make the meat look as good as Lu Qing's, and even the taste was somewhat inferior. It must be because of the seasonings, the elder doctor said with a smile. Ah Qing always loves to concoct some unique seasonings, so maybe that's why it tastes different. It must be the thing called soy sauce in the recipe young Master Lu gave our cooks. They could never quite figure it out. I remember Ah Qing made quite a lot before. The madam could ask him for some at some point. During their casual conversation, dish after dish continuously arrived. Steamed fish, white-cut chicken, stir-fried beef, mutton soup. One after another, the dishes were placed on the table, offering a variety of flavors. Not only were they neatly presented, but also in generous portions. After all the dishes had been served, 2 villagers brought up a large steamer. The steamer was steaming hot, sending out strands of fragrance, which made those who smelled it feel a sudden sense of clarity, feeling refreshed and invigorated. This aroma! Wei Xinghe and Wei Shanhai looked at the steamer in surprise. As innate realm experts, the fragrance they had just smelled actually made them feel lighter, and even the true qi within their bodies started circulating a bit faster. What was being steamed inside that could enhance the cultivation of such experts by the mere scent? Before Wei Shanhai and the others could inquire, the villager carrying the steamer revealed the answer. They opened the lid of the steamer, and inside was a basket of sparkling clear, well-defined grains of rice that were perfectly steamed. What's more peculiar was that, within the translucent whiteness of the rice, there were hints of golden glimmer, making it look quite attractive. This is the spirit rice that Ah Qing planted a while ago. He just thought to invite everyone to try the spiritual rice he harvested yesterday. The elder doctor said cheerfully. Yesterday, when Lu Qing was husking the spirit grain, he had already seen what spirit rice looked like, so he was not surprised now. This is the spirit rice that young Master Lu has been busy planting recently? Wei Xinghe stared at the rice in the steamer with wide eyes. Having resided in the separate residence for several months, he was naturally aware of Lu Qing's planting of the spirit grain. But he didn't expect the spirit rice to look like this after being husked. Dr. Chun, have you eaten this spirit rice before? Wei Shanhai asked. Not yet. Joy shared with others is more enjoyable. I think it's more delightful to taste the spirit rice together with everyone. Then I must try and see what this spirit rice tastes like. Upon hearing this, Wei Shanhai and the others looked forward even more to the taste of the spirit rice. In the courtyard, after all the dishes were served, Lu Qing held up a cup of drink and said aloud, Fellow villagers, since the passing of my parents, little Yen and I have owed much to everyone's protection and care, which has allowed us to endure through those most difficult times. Ah Qing and little Yen have always wanted to host a proper feast for everyone, but could never find the right opportunity. Yesterday, my cultivated spirit grain had a modest harvest, so I took this opportunity to invite everyone over for a simple meal. Later on, please don't be polite, just let your appetite go. Today, there's plenty of drink and enough food for all. The crowd looked at Lu Qing holding his cup, tall and poised, standing there with extraordinary demeanor. They all felt deeply moved, especially the elders like old Master Zhang. Their eyes became warm. That scrawny young boy who struggled even to survive had finally achieved great things. All right, everyone, please don't be shy. Start picking up your chopsticks. Lu Qing drained the cup of wine in his hands. Seeing this, everyone else stopped being courteous and prepared to eat. But even as they began to eat, the young people at each table waited for the elders to start before picking up their dishes. The first thing everyone went for was the braised pork. There was no helping it. The braised pork's red and glossy appearance was too tempting. Few could resist such a delectable temptation. A villager picked up a piece of red braised pork with a good mix of fat and lean and put it into his mouth, and then the next moment, his eyes widened. He found that the lean meat wasn't dry. The fatty meat melted in his mouth, tender and sweet, with a rich meaty flavor. The rich taste spread in his mouth and was simply too delightful for words. He could say he had never eaten such delicious meat in his life. How did Ching make this meat? Why is it so delicious? Pork can be made this tasty? It's even better than beef or mutton. Other villagers who had tasted the braised pork also widened their eyes in amazement. They were astounded by the flavor of this braised pork. This braised pork is indeed very different from what we have at our house. Inside the house, Wei Xinghe also exclaimed. Young Master Lu's cooking skills have improved even more. Wei Shanhai tasted a piece of the meat and expressed his admiration. As he often paid visits to Half Mountain Small Courtyard and sometimes stayed for meals. Chapter 543. So this braised pork dish, having tried it a few times before, I felt that this time the one made by Lu Qing was even tastier than usual. As for old Hu and his daughter Zezhi, there was no need to mention. It was their first time tasting such a uniquely flavored dish. This time, on our trip to Central State, Qing seemed to have collected some particularly special seasonings, probably related to this, the elder doctor explained. Although they were in a hurry on their way to Central State, Lu Qing still made time to stroll around the places they stayed at, looking for unexpected finds. As a result, he obtained quite a few special seasonings. After tasting the braised pork, Wei Shanhai and the others also tried the other dishes on the table, equally exceptional in flavor. Each dish had its unique taste, worthy of the label of truly refined delicacies. After trying all the dishes, the group finally turned their attention to the steaming basket of spiritual rice. They knew, while the dishes on the table were delicious, it was the spiritual rice that was the real highlight of today's feast. Dr. Chun, is there any particular way to enjoy this spiritual rice? Wei Shanhai asked. There shouldn't be. The elder doctor shook his head. Qing didn't specify any special way to eat this spiritual rice. It should be eaten just like regular rice. Grandpa Wei, let me serve the rice for you. At that moment, little Yen stepped forward obediently to fill everyone's bowls. Soon, bowls of crystal-clear spiritual rice were served by little Yen, placed in front of everyone. Mist rising ethereally, that faint aroma wafting into everyone's nostrils was even more tempting than the array of delicious food on the table. Dr. Chun, then we won't stand on ceremony. Wei Shanhai was the first to pick up his bowl, grabbing a chopstick full of rice into his mouth. Seeing this, the others also picked up their bowls to start eating. With a mouthful of rice, everyone immediately felt the extraordinary nature of this spiritual rice. The rice was soft yet chewy, endlessly sweet and delicious. With each chew, a natural and pure essence circulated between their lips and teeth. The taste was so delightful it was an immense pleasure. As a result, everyone couldn't stop eating, spoonful after spoonful, until their bowls were empty. The flavor of this spirit rice is truly indescribable. It's the best rice I've had in my entire life. After a bowl of spirit rice, Wei Shanhai showed an incredulous look in his eyes. More importantly, he felt that this spirit rice contained a very gentle life energy, not inferior to those precious medicinal materials. And I feel like after eating this spiritual rice, my body feels much lighter. Mrs. Wei was equally astonished. Qing did mention that this spiritual rice contains spiritual charm and can nourish the body, enhance the internal vitality. It's indeed a very mild spiritual supplement. Madam's feeling is not an illusion, the elder doctor explained. For such a spiritual item, young Master Lu offering it so generously for hospitality is truly magnanimous. Old Hu was deeply shocked. As a bone forger realm martial artist, his qi blood power was not weak. Yet, just one bowl of this spiritual rice made him feel his qi blood power, which had not progressed for a long time, was noticeably strengthened. Such wondrous effects from a single bowl of rice. If one could eat this every day, wouldn't it mean that in no time he could break his limits, and there was hope for stepping into the inner organs realm? Suddenly, Old Hu realized just how precious the spiritual rice Lu Qing brought out for the guests was. Even a martial artist of his advanced age, whose cultivation path had plateaued, could strengthen his qi blood power. If those young and supremely talented geniuses could receive the assistance of this spiritual rice, with regular consumption, wouldn't their cultivation skyrocket at a rapid pace? Senior Wei, Family Master Wei, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for my late arrival. Lu Qing entered the room after having attended to the villagers outside. Where are your words, young Master Lu? Having the fortune to taste such delicious dishes and spiritual rice is our blessing. Wei Shanhai smiled and said, By the way, young Master Lu, did you harvest a lot of this spiritual rice this time? Lu Qing was startled, then laughed. Senior Wei, are you interested? This spiritual rice is but a trivial cultivation of mine. But if Senior Wei wants some, I can spare a few £100 for you. Thanks to Lu Qing's meticulous care, this harvest of spirit grain had grown extremely well. The stalks produced, likewise, were exceptionally full. Therefore, this time his harvest was quite fruitful. 2 mu of spirit field had yielded over 3,000 genes of spirit grain. Even after removing the husks, there were still at least 2,000 genes of spirit rice. Giving a few hundred genes to Wei Shanhai wouldn't make a difference. After all, his master, and little Yen wouldn't eat that much. Moreover, in a few months, he would be able to harvest another batch of spirit grain. However, Senior Wei, while spirit rice is good, for innate realm experts it can at most only enhance their cultivation a bit. To break through to a higher realm, one still needs to rely on diligent self-cultivation and refinement. Lu Qing persuaded. Do you think I am seeking the spirit rice for myself, young Master Lu? Not at all, Wei Shanhai said with a smile. I'm asking for it on behalf of Xian and Zihao. Especially Zihao, he doesn't have the same opportunities as Xian, and I'm afraid his cultivation has fallen behind quite a lot. With this spirit rice, perhaps he can catch up. You've found Zihao? Lu Qing said, surprised. He had indeed heard about the tragic incident that had occurred over 2 months ago, when the Qingyun Sword Pavilion in Jizhou was annihilated. He also knew that Wei Zihao, as a disciple of the Qingyun Sword Pavilion, had gone missing during that catastrophe. In Lu Qing's opinion, Wei Zihao was probably dead by now. After all, so many experts from the Qingyun Sword Pavilion had perished unjustly. How could he, a mere postnatal realm cultivator, have possibly escaped the disaster? But now, according to Wei Shanhai, it seemed that Wei Zihao might not be dead. Young Master Lu, I was just about to discuss this matter with you, Wei Xinghe intervened. 2 days ago, our Wei family spy in the state mansion reported a sighting of Zihao. It seems he is hiding out with a few other disciples from the Qingyun Sword Pavilion. Zihao is in the state mansion. Then why hasn't he contacted you? I remember that your Wei family also has properties there, right? Lu Qing thought to himself. This is also our confusion. Our spy in the mansion reported that when they saw Zihao, he looked very rushed, as if he was avoiding something. Therefore, I speculate that he has his reasons for deliberately not contacting the family. Avoiding something. Lu Qing pondered for a moment. Do you mean, Wei family master, that Zihao is in danger and deliberately not contacting you to avoid implicating the Wei family? Based on the information from the spies in the mansion, Ahai and I surmise it is very likely the case. That Zihao would rather put himself in danger than ask his family for help. Clearly, in his mind, whoever is bringing him danger must be extremely fearsome, far beyond what your Wei family can cope with. Could it be that it is the same mysterious force that eradicated the Qingyun Sword Pavilion? Lu Qing analyzed. Wei Shanhai sighed. That's what we think as well. But just the thought of Zihao being in danger makes Mrs. Wei and me extremely anxious and restless. Mrs. Wei couldn't help but show a look of deep sorrow. So you are thinking. Lu Qing could understand. As parents, how could they just sit back and watch their son be in danger? I'm thinking of making a trip to the state mansion to see if I can bring Zihao back. Wei Xinghe revealed his thoughts. That might not be wise. If Zihao has not contacted you, there must be his reasons for it. Family Master Wei, if you suddenly go to meet him, it might catch him off guard and disrupt his plans. Of course, I am aware of this, but if I do not go to the state mansion and something happens to Zihao, I fear I will never be at peace for the rest of my life. Of course, I am also aware of the numerous dangers on such a journey. Knowing that you, young Master Lu, are skilled in the art of divination. I was hoping to consult you and see if there is any chance of survival for me on this trip. Lu Qing. He didn't know any art of divination. That was just an excuse for his superpower. Still, seeing Wei Xinghe's resolute expression, he also knew that it would be impossible to dissuade him. Any competent father couldn't possibly stand by and do nothing while their child was in danger. So, after thinking for a moment, he reached into his chest and pulled out a sword-shaped jade talisman. Chapter 544. Gifting a Talisman, Little Yan's Breakthrough. Wei Family Master, given the relationship between our two families, I should accompany you if Zaheo is in danger, Lu Qing said. However, these past 2 days, Little Yan's cultivation has reached a critical moment, and I must stand vigil by her side. Thus I am unable to leave. If you can wait a few more days, perhaps I can go to the state mansion with you. Since Lu Qing had taught Little Yan the breathing skill, half a year had already passed. The little one was mischievous and fond of play, but when it came to cultivation, she was quite diligent. At the very least, she completed her daily required cultivation exercises seriously and without cutting corners. Little Yan had exceptional talent, possessing the innate gift of ice skin jade bone, along with a hint of the innate Taoist body essence. After that stream of origin energy merged into her body, it thoroughly stimulated that hint of innate Taoist body essence. One could say that now Little Yan, solely based on her cultivation talent, could be considered a true prodigy. Even Hu Ziji, a favored child of destiny, could not compare with her. Thus, even though her cultivation was not exceedingly arduous, with half a year gone by, she had perfected her breathing skill. One more breakthrough, and she would be in the innate realm, with energy flowing through her body, unsoiled and unblemished, with all meridians clear. Moreover, according to Lu Qing's calculations, the day of Little Yan's breakthrough should be within these next few days. In Lu Qing's eyes, aside from his master and Little Li, there was no one more important than Little Yan in this world. A breakthrough into the innate realm was not without its dangers. Therefore, even if the sky fell outside, he would not leave her side at this critical juncture. Young Master Lu's concern is appreciated, but Zaheo might be in a dangerous situation, and as his father, I'm afraid I cannot wait many days. Thus, I shall go to the state mansion alone. Moreover, I am simply going to assess the situation and will not show myself directly. After all, it is the state mansion. Even that mysterious force would hardly dare to cause a disturbance directly within its walls. Otherwise, Zaheo and the others would not have chosen to hide there, said Wei Xinghe. Wei Xinghe could naturally feel that the breath of Little Yan was full and indeed approaching the brink of a breakthrough. He thought for a moment and decided to visit the state mansion city first to assess the situation on his own. Lu Qing nodded. Wei Xinghe's decision did not surprise him, so he handed over a jade sword talisman he had crafted in his spare time. Family Master Wei, take this sword talisman I forged during my leisure time. I have sealed a small sword array inside and imbued it with 3 strands of sword qi. If you truly encounter an enemy that you cannot handle, you can summon it, and it should be able to fend off an attack or two. He then took out 2 more talismans. Here's also a light spirit talisman. When activated at a critical moment, it can triple your speed for the duration of a quarter hour. It might prove effective in a crisis. And this is the concealing talisman. It can shield the innate essence of your body. Unless someone is right next to you, even another at the innate realm would find it difficult to sense your innate energy. Thank you, young Master Lu. Wei Xinghe received the 3 treasures. He knew that Lu Qing, now a true cultivator, would provide items that were extraordinary. He solemnly stored them away. It's a pity that I'm in a rush. The jade stones you delivered last time have been used up. Otherwise, I could have crafted a few more talismans for you, Family Master Wei, for your protection, said Lu Qing somewhat regretfully. Most of the jade stones previously provided by the Wei family had been used by him to forge the Gathering Spirit Tablet, leaving not many left to craft talismans. Enough with my current realm. I'm afraid I would hardly be able to activate even more treasures, Wei Xinghe hastily said. He was well aware of his limits. Currently, he was only at the initial innate realm. His divine soul power was not strong. He had sensed that the 3 treasures given by Lu Qing were all extraordinary. Each one required a considerable amount of divine soul power to activate. Thus, even if Lu Qing gave him more talismans, he would not be able to use them. Xinghe, you must be cautious on this trip. The situation in the outside world has changed and is not peaceful. So remember, while Zaheo's safety is important, your safety is also crucial to the Wei family's well-being, Wei Shanhai warned. I understand, ancestor, replied Wei Xinghe seriously. This time, Wei Shanhai would not accompany him. Zaheo, although a direct descendant, was not significant enough to warrant the effort of 2 at the innate realm from the mansion. Should both innate realm members fall at the state mansion, the Wei family would truly face peril. As the Wei family's ancestor, Wei Shanhai could distinguish between what was more and less important. After the banquet concluded, Wei Xinghe set off immediately for the state mansion city. But with the sword talisman and talismans given by Lu Qing, he felt significantly more confident. Especially with the sword talisman. When he probed it with his heart and spirit, he could sense the extremely fierce sword intent it contained. Once unleashed, its power was unimaginable. At least he himself admitted that with his initial innate realm cultivation, he would be completely unable to withstand it. The state mansion city was not close to Song County. By the time Wei Xinghe arrived, it was already the afternoon of the next day. Gazing at the majestic walls of the state mansion city, Wei Xinghe paused to recover his breath before entering. Stepping inside, everything seemed business as usual, and not feeling imminent danger, Wei Xinghe's heart settled a bit. He walked slowly on the streets, with Lu Qing's concealing talisman hiding his breath. Chapter 545. Therefore, no one in the state mansion noticed that an innate realm expert had quietly entered the city. After strolling the streets for a while, Wei Xinghe seized an opportunity and stealthily slipped into a small tavern. Dear guest, we are about to close for the night. Please come again tomorrow. The tavern keeper, sensing someone had entered, spoke without raising his head. Cough, cough. Wei Xinghe cleared his throat loudly. The tavern keeper, slightly taken aback, looked up and his face changed dramatically. Family head. How come? Quiet. Let's talk inside. Wei Xinghe cut off the tavern keeper's words. Coming to his senses, the tavern keeper replied, Yes, 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 dear guest, please come inside. We still have some ingredients left. I will prepare something for you immediately. Quickly, the tavern keeper led Wei Xinghe into a quiet room at the back. Family head. This stone room is specially made. Conversations inside are guaranteed not to be heard outside. Not bad. Wei Xinghe noted the thick and tightly sealed walls of the stone room with satisfaction. However, his expression soon became serious. I came here after receiving your message that you'd found Hao Er's whereabouts? Reporting to the family head, yes. 2 days ago, we spotted the eldest young master's traces in the city. At first, we thought we'd made a mistake, but after thorough investigation, we finally confirmed that it was indeed the young master. You needed to verify repeatedly, Hao Er he. Wei Xinghe was astonished. The spies in the mansion should be quite familiar with Hao Er's appearance, so why would they need to investigate time and again to confirm his identity? This is also what we haven't yet had time to report to you, family head. Please be prepared psychologically, the eldest young master. He seems to have undergone some changes, and has become somewhat different from before. The tavern keeper reported cautiously. What happened? Tell me everything. Feeling a sense of foreboding, Wei Xinghe immediately demanded. Just as Wei Xinghe arrived at the state mansion, back in Jili village at the Lu family, Lu Qing also looked very stern. At this moment, little Yen was sitting cross-legged in front of her. Her little face tense and her aura fluctuating, showing signs of a breakthrough. Ah Qing, is little Yen about to make a breakthrough? Little Li asked nervously, standing on Lu Qing's shoulder. Yes. Lu Qing nodded, her heart and spirit fully concentrated on little Yen, paying close attention to the latter's aura, not daring to slacken in the slightest. She was equally tense at this moment. Thus, one human and one little beast both watched little Yen intently, fearing any mishap in her breakthrough. This made Yen inside the leaving fire tripod quite speechless. In its view, Lu Qing and little Li were being overly nervous. The breathing skill which Lu Qing had initially taught little Yen was an authentic profound sect skill, perfectly safe. As long as one cultivated step by step, there was virtually no risk of cultivation deviation. Plus, little Yen had a solid foundation and excellent talent, making this breakthrough a matter of course, almost impossible to fail. Lu Qing and little Li were simply making a fuss over nothing. Indeed, just as Yen had anticipated, little Yen's breakthrough went smoothly, almost effortlessly overcoming the barriers. She successfully unblocked her meridians, her qi flowing throughout her body, breaking through to the qi refining realm. Of course, although little Yan's realm had reached the qi refining realm, in terms of strength, she was leagues behind Lu Qing. The two were incomparable. But on the other hand, a realm is a realm. Now that little Yen had broken through to the qi refining realm, it meant she could start practicing the qi eating skill, refining spirit energy for her own use, becoming a true cultivator. Seeing the heaven and earth rules appear and energy descending to refine little Yan's innate body, Lu Qing and little Li finally exhaled a great sigh of relief. At this stage, it meant that little Yan's breakthrough had ended, and there would be no more risks. The process of little Yan's refinement of the innate body took some time. After all, her talent was extraordinary, far superior to that of a typical innate realm cultivator. About a quarter of an hour later, the heaven and earth rules dissipated, revealing little Yan's small form. The little girl opened her eyes, filled with surprise. "Brother, I think I've made a breakthrough." "Yes, you're not mistaken. You did make a breakthrough, little Yen. You're amazing." Lu Qing immediately praised her. Little Li also hopped over to congratulate little Yen. Watching the two children play, Yen felt a tinge of emotion in her heart. Although she had anticipated little Yen's breakthrough would surely not be difficult, when little Yen actually succeeded, officially breaking the barriers and stepping into the innate qi refining realm, she still felt amazed. Because little Yen was too young. In their time together these past days, she had learned that little Yen was not yet 9 years old. An innate realm prodigy not yet 9 years old was extremely rare, even in the ancient immortal cultivation era. She truly was a seed of the immortal Tao. Once such a talent appeared, they would certainly be fought over by all the major immortal sects and cultivated as the most core disciples. Who would have thought that little Yen, this playful little one, would also possess such talent? Then, considering Lu Qing's strength, it made Yen somewhat doubt whether the ancestors of Lu Qing and little Yen had some extraordinary bloodline. Otherwise, how could such a pair of unparalleled talents be born in a small mountain village? "Ah Qing, I just sensed fluctuations of heaven and earth rules here. Has little Yen broken through?" At this time, the elder doctor's voice appeared in Lu Qing's mind. "Yes, master. Little Yen has just managed to successfully break through and condense an innate body." Lu Qing transmitted back. "I'll be right there." The elder doctor's tone carried a note of surprise and delight. Soon, 2 sets of footsteps approached from outside the house. It was the elder doctor and Wei Shanhai hurrying over. "Grandpa Chun, Grandpa Wei, I've successfully broken through. Isn't that awesome?" Little Yen, seeing the arrival of the 2 elders, immediately went up to show off. Little Yen is really impressive." "Awesome. Little Yen is certainly awesome." The 2 elders would naturally not skimp on their praise, each of them voicing their compliments. Especially Wei Shanhai, who was full of astonishment. To think that little Yen, not yet 9 years old, had already stepped into the innate realm. Although little Yan's innate realm strength wasn't great, a realm was nonetheless a realm. Stepping into the innate, clearing through all the meridians, and breaking the barriers, little Yan's life essence had undergone a transformation. It could be said that even if she made no more progress in her cultivation, little Yen, already having condensed an innate body, would live a painless, disease-free life to the age of 200, barring any accidents. Moreover, with Lu Qing around, How could he possibly not find ways to enhance little Yan's cultivation? So, it was foreseeable that the little one's cultivation journey in the future would be incredibly smooth, with a very high ceiling. Hee. Upon receiving the praise from the two elders, little Yen burst into joyous, delighted laughter. Seeing this, the elder doctor couldn't help but sigh. The little one had never had much desire for the utilitarian aspects of cultivation. In the beginning, it was because Lu Qing piqued her curiosity by telling her she could fly. After that, it was because she found cultivation to actually be quite fun. Every day, simply by meditating and practicing qi, she could feel invigorated and full of energy. Therefore, although she was playful, she completed her daily morning and evening cultivation exercises very seriously, never once half-hearted. Perhaps it was precisely because of this mindset that her cultivation progressed so rapidly. Brother, you said once I've mastered the breathing skill, you would teach me how to fly. Can little Yen start learning now? The little one had never forgotten her original intention for practicing the breathing skill. Of course you can learn, but when you'll be able to fly will depend on how hard you work. Lu Qing continued to entice her. Little Yen will definitely work very hard to learn, little Yen said earnestly. Lu Qing smiled, about to say something, when suddenly his expression changed. Ah Qing, what happened? The elder doctor and Wei Shanhai noticed the change in Lu Qing. I felt that the talisman I gave to Wei family master has been activated. Lu Qing spoke with a grave expression. Chapter 546. Ancient Demon Formation, Falling into the Demon Path. Ah Qing, you said the talisman you gave to Xinghe was used? Wei Shanhai was taken aback. Based on the schedule, Wei Xinghe should have just arrived at the state mansion not long ago. To be using the talisman given by Lu Qing so soon, does that mean he got into a fight the moment he entered the city? There's no need to worry too much, senior. What Wei family master used was a concealing talisman. Perhaps he was just hurrying on his way, and it doesn't necessarily mean he has already come to blows with someone. Lu Qing comforted him. However, his heart felt somewhat heavy. The talisman Lu Qing had given to Wei Xinghe was personally crafted by him. It contained a trace of his heart and spirit breath within. The distance was too far, though, and only the destruction of the talisman could trigger this breath of heart and spirit. That is to say, in the state mansion, not only had Wei Xinghe used the concealing talisman, it had even been broken by someone. To be able to break through the talisman power of the concealing talisman, the opponent must be no ordinary master of the innate realm. Could it be that Wei Xinghe had already clashed with that mysterious power? Thoughts flew through Lu Qing's mind as he pondered. Suddenly, his heart and spirit stirred again. Because he discovered that the heart and spirit within that sword talisman he gave to Wei Xinghe had also been triggered. This time, Lu Qing was truly shocked. Of the 3 talismans he gave to Wei Xinghe, the sword talisman was the most special. It was crafted using the leftover materials from when he made the Gathering Spirit tablet. Its jade quality had been refined by him once more, making it purer than other jade talismans, capable of housing an even greater power. Therefore, among the 3 talismans, the sword talisman contained the most potent power. Lu Qing estimated that even a master at the great success of innate realm, if caught off guard, would probably find it difficult to withstand the edge of the sword talisman. But now, Wei Xinghe had actually used up even the sword talisman, clearly indicating that he had encountered an unimaginably formidable enemy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have used 2 talismans in such rapid succession. Master, Senior Wei, things are looking quite bad. I fear I need to make a trip to the state mansion. Lu Qing turned around, gazing in the direction of the state mansion. Through the earlier stir of his heart and spirit, he faintly sensed a premonition. Ah Qing, do you need me to come with you? Seeing this, the elder doctor asked. He could tell that Lu Qing's expression seemed somewhat off. Moreover, he too had a vague sense of foreboding, a dark shadow looming from the direction of the state mansion. There's no need, master. You should stay and look after the village. I will take little Li with me. Little Yen has just had a breakthrough and will need your care, master. After speaking, Lu Qing's figure flashed, and he was out of the courtyard. With another flash, he was gone from sight. Young Master Lu. Wei Shanhai didn't expect Lu Qing to leave so quickly. Just as he tried to call him back, he found no trace of Lu Qing. Mr. Wei, there's no need to worry. With Ah Qing taking action, the Wei family master should be fine. Although the elder doctor did not know the specifics of what had happened, he could only offer such comfort. Wei Shanhai didn't speak, but his heart nevertheless began to worry. He knew that Lu Qing must have sensed something, or he wouldn't have left in such haste. Unfortunately, even with his concern, he could only wait for Lu Qing's return to know what exactly had happened. After leaving Jili village, Lu Qing held little Li in his embrace. A yellow glow appeared on his body, negating most of the earth vein primordial magnetism, making his body extremely light. Then from the brow chakra, a ball of light shone, and a breeze appeared out of nowhere, swirling around him. The next moment, with a slight exertion of his feet and the breezes entwining, his entire being turned into a streak of light, shooting rapidly toward the state mansion. Young master, have you discovered something? Yan's voice resonated in Lu Qing's mind. Lu Qing's expression had not gone unnoticed by Yan. This was the first time it had seen Lu Qing so serious. Senior, how much do you know about demon cultivators? Lu Qing did not directly answer but instead asked. Demon cultivators? Yan was startled, not expecting Lu Qing to suddenly bring up this topic. But it quickly responded, demon cultivators are not easy to deal with. Those fellows are treacherous and will stop at nothing. Even during the ancient immortal cultivation era, they were quite difficult to handle. In terms of malevolent and vicious cultivation techniques, they far exceed even the plague ghost. Young master, why did you suddenly ask about this? A couple of days ago, didn't I give a few talismans to Wei family master that contained a trace of my divine soul power? Just now, I sensed that the talismans were destroyed. Before the breath of my divine soul dissipated, I seemed to sense a trace of a demon cultivator's presence. The presence of a demon cultivator? Young master, are you sure? Yan was astonished. Actually, it was more surprised that Lu Qing was able to sense movement thousands of miles away. Logically, this was an ability far beyond what a Qi refinement realm practitioner should possess. Lu Qing's divine soul power was actually this formidable. It seems that there were still many secrets about this individual that it was unaware of. There's no mistake, the presence of a demon cultivator. I am not likely to misidentify. I have encountered demon cultivators before. Lu Qing then recounted his previous encounter with a demon cultivator in the Holy City. One who could perform the heavenly demon disintegration technique. Yan was even more astonished. Those who know that devil technique are not ordinary demon cultivators. That was a technique from the ancient immortal cultivation era. Only the most orthodox demon cultivators could perform such devil techniques. Could it be that some old creature has survived the heavenly human 5 decays and lived to this day? Chapter 547. I do not know, but the aura I just sensed is from the same source as the demon cultivator I encountered previously in Holy City. Even if they are not the same person, there must be some unusual connection between them. Lu Qing recalled the state of the divine soul's fluctuation in the talisman before it dissipated. It seemed like Wei Xinghe was trapped somewhere, surrounded by emerging demonic qi, and vaguely, there seemed to be many people wailing. Unfortunately, his own divine soul was still not powerful enough. The power of the emitted divine soul fluctuation was limited, and the distance was too great. The things he could sense were very vague. Otherwise, he wouldn't need to guess like this. Now he could only hurry to State Mansion to find out the truth of the matter. The question was whether Wei Xinghe could hold on until the moment he arrived. Thinking of this, Lu Qing's thoughts stirred, and the breezes swirling around him grew more intense. At the same time, his speed surged again. From high above, he appeared as a stream of bluish-yellow light, speeding toward the direction of the State Mansion city along the ground. The prefecture was 1,000 miles away from Jili village. When Lu Qing was still at the postnatal realm, he had made a night raid to kill the innate realm old crone from the Zheng family. Now his cultivation was immeasurably stronger than it was then. and his speed was far beyond any comparison to that time. Thus, though he had left in the afternoon, the state mansion city was already in sight before nightfall. However, when Lu Qing saw the state mansion city, he suddenly felt something was wrong. He found the state mansion city, which lay like a massive beast upon the land, was presently enveloped in a layer of black light. That black light, which emitted an evil aura, looked quite strange. This is a demon formation, who has such great capability to set up an array of such large scope? The figure of Yen materialized beside Lu Qing, looking at the state mansion city ahead with some astonishment. It's not just an array. There are also magical treasures. Lu Qing stared at the black energy screen, and soon, lines of information floated into his view. Blood-melting soul refining array. An ancient devilish array inherited from the black sky demon venerable of the heavenly origin great world. Exceedingly evil and malicious. Blood-melting and soul refining. Mysterious demon cultivators intend to use this array to melt the citizens of an entire city, turning them into nourishment and condensing a demon body. This array is a very simplified version established with the devilish magical treasure as the core, its power being less than 1/10,000,000th of the original array. To turn the citizens of a city into nourishment to condense a demon body? When Lu Qing saw the information on the lines, his face turned ashen. So much so that he temporarily disregarded the mention of Black Sky Demon Venerable displayed on the lines. No wonder the fluctuation of his divine soul had sensed as if many whales were arising around Wei Shanhai, and why he had felt a premonition in the back of his mind. It turns out that a demon cultivator had set up an array with the intent to turn all the citizens of State Mansion City into nourishment to form a demon body. One must know, there are tens of thousands of citizens in the State Mansion City. Young master, what are you saying? Yen exclaimed in shock upon hearing this. That demon cultivator wants to refine all the people in this city. How dare they? How so? Did the elder not say that demon cultivators are cruel and lawless, treating human life as worthless? There's nothing they wouldn't dare. It's not the same, Yen said. Although demon cultivators are cruel and fond of killing, there is a limit. Such a conduct of melting the entire city's citizens will certainly induce tremendous sin. Even a demon cultivator at the primordial spirit realm wouldn't dare to do so. Otherwise, the punishment of the heavenly Tao would descend, and no one could bear it. Then how does the elder explain the situation in front of us? Lu Qing indicated forward. This. Yen was at a loss for words. After a moment of thought, it said, perhaps this array is only trapping the city and is not necessarily trying to refine all the people in it. No matter what it is, we'll find out soon enough. Lu Qing didn't rush to enter the city. With the situation unclear and the State Mansion City being trapped, his rash entry might instead cause trouble. Little Li, guard me for a moment, Lu Qing instructed, before sitting down, crossing his legs, concentrating his mind and entering a meditative state. At this distance, he should be able to sense the presence of his divine soul in the talisman. Indeed, it didn't take long for Lu Qing to sense a breath similar to his own within the city, faint and ethereal. However, due to the array's obstruction, it would take some effort for him to connect with it. Lu Qing immediately employed his mental method, attempting to link with that thread of divine soul breath. Just as Lu Qing was strenuously striving to connect with the talisman, in a small alley within State Mansion City, Wei Shanhai was holding a broken jade sword talisman, looking with utter despair at the figure before him that seemed both familiar and alien. He never imagined that his son could turn into this inhuman, ghostly state. Father, I've said before, your struggles are futile. It would be better to join me in following Lord Demon and contribute to his cause, achieving greatness. Before Wei Xinghe, with a body exuding black gas and a dark mark between the eyebrows emanating malevolence, Wei Zihao gently laughed. Zihao, tell me who turned you into this? Wei Xinghe looked at his completely unrecognizable son, his heart twisting in pain. What, father? Do you think I am not better off this way? Wei Zihao extended an arm covered with strange runes. but I feel that this is very good. Father, you saw it as well, my current cultivation far surpasses yours. Even that sword chi talisman that you somehow acquired couldn't harm me in the slightest. Seeing this, Wei Xinghe felt even more heartache. Zaheo, wake up. Do you really think the power you possess now is truly your own? Father really has a sense of humor. If this power isn't mine, could it be yours? But, if Father is willing to heed my advice, submit to the Demon Lord. With your realm in the innate realm, it's not difficult to obtain such power. So now, Father, please follow me to meet the Demon Lord. He mentioned earlier that he's very interested in the sword chi talisman you offered. After Wei Zaheo finished speaking, his hand gently reached towards Wei Xinghe. The seemingly casual gesture caused Wei Xinghe's complexion to change drastically. Without thinking, he stomped the ground and rapidly retreated backward. Father, it's useless. You won't be able to escape. Wei Zaheo smiled faintly as the black gas from his hand turned into two venomous snakes, coiling towards the retreating figure of Wei Xinghe. The demonic chi snakes were extremely fast and in the blink of an eye had caught up with Wei Xinghe. Wei Xinghe had experienced the power of this black gas firsthand and dared not let it touch his body. Yet he couldn't outrun this bizarre thing. Left with no other choice, he gritted his teeth and activated the last talisman on his person. The next moment, a blue light emerged from Wei Xinghe's body, exponentially increasing his speed. It not only instantly increased the distance between him and the dark gas, but he also vanished from Wei Zaheo's view with a few leaps. Wei Zaheo, who had been so confident and smiling moments ago, suddenly had his face fall. He had never expected that at this time, his father still had a trump card. However, he quickly resumed smiling. It's futile, Father. You cannot escape State Mansion City under the Great Array's envelopment. With those words, he turned into a black shadow, chasing in the direction Wei Xinghe disappeared. After escaping the alley, Wei Xinghe dared not pause. According to what Lu Qing had told him when he gave him the talisman, the Light Spirit Talisman's effect could only last for a quarter of an hour. He had to escape the city within this time. Otherwise, not only would he perish in the city, but the entire State Mansion City could turn into hell. Thinking of the terrifying figure he had seen earlier, Wei Xinghe knew that in all of Tsang State, perhaps only Lu Qing could save the city's residents. Of course, that was provided he could make it out. Just as Wei Xinghe was fleeing for his life, a divine soul fluctuation suddenly emitted from him. Family Master Wei? Can you hear me? Young Master Lu? Hearing this voice, Wei Xinghe abruptly stopped, an ecstatic expression flooding his face. Chapter 548 Treasure Bow, Magic Arrow Technique. Young Master Lu, is it really you? Suddenly hearing Lu Qing's voice, Wei Xinghe could hardly believe it. He even wondered if he was hallucinating amidst life and death. It's me, Wei Family Master. How are you doing now? The fluctuation of Lu Qing's divine soul continued to appear. Only then did Wei Xinghe notice that it was actually transmitting from the Light Spirit Talisman on his body. He immediately had no more doubts, sensed the movements behind him, and with a few leaps, he quickly moved to the eaves of a nearby street and found an attic window to slip into. As soon as he entered the room, Wei Xinghe's body stiffened. On the bed in the attic, a thin figure lay withered, already without a breath. He understood that this was one of the townspeople who had their spirit drained by the array activated earlier. Clutching his hand, Wei Xinghe suppressed the anger in his heart. Then he curled up, concealed his aura, and hid. The situation was urgent and did not allow for any more indignation. The most important thing now was to inform Lu Qing about the situation in State Mansion City. If he and Elder Chen could arrive in time, perhaps the city's people still had hope for survival. Therefore, without taking too much time for sentiment, Wei Xinghe hurriedly spoke to the Jade Talisman. Young Master Lu, things are dire. State Mansion City has been besieged by a powerful evil cultivator from somewhere unknown using an array. That array is very evil, capable of absorbing people's spirit, and many city dwellers have already died because of it. Did you see that evil cultivator? Asked Lu Qing. I only caught a glimpse. The evil cultivator is extremely powerful. I couldn't even make out his appearance before he instantly saw through the concealing talisman on me. If not for the sword talisman you gave me, young Master Lu, I might not have been able to escape. Young Master Lu, the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in State Mansion City are hanging by a thread. Probably only you and Elder Chun have the potential to break the siege and save them. Wei Xinghe lowered his voice and spoke quickly. He didn't know if Lu Qing and the others would make it in time from Jili Village. Family Master Wei, do not worry. I am now outside State Mansion City, but I need some time to break the array, and I can't enter the city yet. Young Master Lu, you're outside the city? Wei Xinghe was overjoyed. I just arrived and am figuring out how to break the array. Family Master Wei, you should first find a place to ensure your safety. Leave the rest to me. After saying this, Lu Qing disconnected his connection with the spirit talisman. Sensing that Lu Qing's divine soul consciousness had departed, Wei Xinghe was not panicked but filled with hope again. He had initially thought that even if Lu Qing knew the situation here, he might not be able to make it in time. Unexpectedly, Lu Qing was already outside the city. Regarding Lu Qing's abilities, Wei Xinghe was still very confident. Now that he had arrived, the crisis in State Mansion City would surely be resolved. So now all he needed to do was preserve himself well and wait for Lu Qing to break the array. Regretfully, his concealing talisman was broken by that terrifying evil cultivator. Otherwise, with the miraculous effect of the talisman, he could have hidden anywhere until Lu Qing broke the array. While thinking this, Wei Xinghe suddenly felt a jolt, a sense of danger rising in his mind. Without thinking, his body shot out of the attic window. Boom! Just as he got out, a great force destroyed the entire attic. The thin figure inside was blown to pieces. Father, so you were hiding here. It took me quite a while to find you. The voice of Wei Zihao rang out. Wei Xinghe glanced at Wei Zihao, who was emitting black qi, and knew that his eldest son had been controlled by the evil cultivator. Engaging him further held no meaning. Immediately, without saying a word, he activated the light spirit talisman on him. A flash of light flashed, and his speed increased to its limit. In a few flashes, he disappeared from Wei Zihao's sight. Wei Zihao failed again to stop him, his face darkening, a cold look appearing in his eyes. Lord Demon had specifically ordered him to bring his father back, and having failed repeatedly, he worried about being reprimanded. Thinking this, black runes moved on Wei Zihao's body, his aura becoming even stranger. The next moment he stepped out, leaving a long afterimage. His speed, unexpectedly, also increased many times, chasing in the direction Wei Xinghe had fled. Wei Xinghe felt the burst of aura from behind and was both shocked and enraged. The shock was that he truly could not imagine what evil technique the mysterious evil cultivator was using. To enable Zihao, who was still in the postnatal realm, to unleash power not inferior to his own. His anger stemmed from knowing as a martial artist that power should be fostered through one's own cultivation. Like Zihao wielding forcefully a power far beyond his realm, it must come at a price. Over time, his body might just collapse. The evil cultivator dared to reduce his son to such an inhuman and ghostly state, which inflamed Wei Xinghe's wrath. Unfortunately, as furious as he was, Wei Xinghe knew that he was powerless in the present situation. His only hope now rested on Lu Qing being able to break the array swiftly and defeat the mysterious evil cultivator. Only then there might be a chance to restore Zihao's senses. Not wanting to engage in futile combat with his son, Wei Xinghe had to accelerate further and continue to flee. Suddenly, he sensed several strong innate realm auras coming from ahead. After finishing the conversation with Wei Xinghe and learning the situation inside the city, Lu Qing disconnected the mental connection with the light spirit talisman. Chapter 549. He shifted his focus to the black array formation light screen in front of him, pondering how to break the formation. Such an evil array that trapped and refined human essence blood was not new to him. On his way to Central State, the Silver Moon sect had once set up a similar formation, aiming to refine the martial arts experts of Yunzhou. However, the array set up by the Silver Moon sect back then covered only a small town. Its power was far inferior to the formidable array now enveloping an entire state mansion. Blood-melting soul refining array, inherited from the heavenly origin great world's black sky demon Venerable. Lu Qing recalled the information that had previously surfaced, deep in thought. The implications were rich. Both heavenly origin great world and the black sky demon Venerable sounded like incredibly formidable entities. And what connection did the demon cultivators in the city have with the heavenly origin great world? Lu Qing thought for a moment, unable to grasp it, and temporarily set that matter aside. The urgent task at hand was to find a way to break the current formation. Otherwise, the next time the formation activated, many more townspeople might die. Lu Qing released his heart and spirit, finally sensing the flow of the array's power in the array formation light screen ahead. With the array blocking, he couldn't sense the situation inside the city. Yet, sensing only the power flow on the light screen was still feasible. Although the blood-melting soul-refining array was much more vast and powerful than what he encountered at the Silver Moon sect. Like any array, it must have nodes. If enough nodes were destroyed, the array would collapse on its own. Lu Qing, bearing the inheritance of the Divine Talisman sect and having already cultivated to the Yang Talisman realm, was considered an expert in arrays. Despite the complexity of the blood-melting soul-refining array, it had ultimately been simplified countless times. So before long, Lu Qing found several outer array nodes. Without hesitation, his heart and spirit moved, and he took out a bow and arrow from the Chenkuan Qi bag. At this moment, the treasure bow in Lu Qing's hand had changed its appearance. Covered in mysterious runes and glowing with treasure light, it clearly looked extraordinary. It turned out that Lu Qing had gotten addicted to artifact refining using the Leaving Fire tripod recently. Incidentally, he had also reforged the treasure bow. It wasn't merely added with numerous precious materials, but also infused with several layers of restrictions, greatly enhancing its quality. It had become a genuine treasure-level magic bow. Let's see if your formation can withstand my arrows. Lu Qing's gaze turned sharp as he pulled out a long arrow engraved with runes and set it on the bow. Since the treasure bow had been reforged, the arrows naturally followed suit. This engraved rune arrow was a magic arrow specially refined by Lu Qing. A single magic arrow alone was as precious as a magic artifact. That was exactly why Lu Qing had been so determined to get his hands on the Leaving Fire tripod. With this sect spirit artifact of the Li Hua sect, refining anything became exceedingly convenient. With this spiritual artifact, as long as the materials were supplied, he could continuously forge magic artifacts and magical treasures. Even his proficiency in the path of artifact refining had advanced leaps and bounds recently. Positioning the arrow on the bow, Lu Qing began drawing the bow. After transforming the bow into a magical treasure, its strength had greatly increased, such that even innate realm experts might struggle to draw it. But for Lu Qing, whose physical body reached the level of body shining, such strength was naturally negligible. He didn't even need to assume a horse stance. Merely spreading his legs slightly and exerting force with his arms, he easily drew the bow fully. Then, as his heart and spirit motivated, the restrictions on the bow and arrow began to glow. The surrounding spiritual energy rapidly gathered, channeling into the magic arrow. Powerful force brewed within. When the spiritual energy was gathered to a peak, the power inside the magic arrow brewed to a level that could make any innate realm expert feel apprehensive. Without hesitation, Lu Qing released the bowstring. Bang! A loud sound of the bowstring echoed, causing the air around Lu Qing to explode directly. The powerful force propelled the magic arrow, which instantly turned into a streak of light, piercing through the air in front of Lu Qing. It flew diagonally upward toward the prefecture of the state mansion. This time, Lu Qing used the throwing skill again. At the same time, a strand of his heart and spirit also attached itself to the magic arrow. The magic arrow soared high, initially climbing to a high point, arriving above the prefecture of the state mansion. Then it turned around, the arrowhead pointing downward, and under the impetus of Lu Qing's heart and spirit, it suddenly accelerated, rushing toward the prefecture below. Arrow technique secret skill. Skyfall. As Lu Qing's heart and spirit urged it on, the restrictions within the magic arrow lit up, the arrow rapidly gaining speed layer by layer until it reached the black array formation light screen, where its speed had reached an extreme. The might carried by the arrow was incomparably formidable. Although the black light array formation light screen was strong, it was still as fragile as paper in front of this arrow. It was pierced instantly by the magic arrow, followed by a loud noise that emitted from the city. Lu Qing keenly sensed that the black array formation light screen in front had obviously hesitated for a moment, and its might had also weakened slightly. I seem to have overestimated the strength of this formation. Lu Qing touched his chin, somewhat surprised. Originally, he thought it would take some effort to break through that black array formation light screen. Yet, he didn't expect it to be so easy to destroy a formation node. Young master, the might of this single arrow, even a foundation establishment stage cultivator would not necessarily dare to face it head-on. The array formation light screen encompassing the entire state mansion is too dissipated in power and naturally cannot stop it. Yen said with a chuckle. However, it still marveled at the level of arrow skill Lu Qing had demonstrated. The arrow Lu Qing had just fired was extremely intricate. Even across a large array, he was able to precisely destroy an array node. This level of arrow skill was comparable to a foundation establishment stage cultivator who specialized in arrow paths. Just how much more ability does this person have that it doesn't know about? Why not? This is a good thing for us. Lu Qing's face revealed a smile as he thought, and suddenly 3 magic arrows appeared in his hand, all knocked on the bow. Since he had already tested the defense limit of the black array formation light screen, there was no need for him to probe any further. As his heart and spirit operated, the 3 magic arrows immediately began absorbing nature's spiritual energy from the surroundings, just as Lu Qing was brewing his second wave of attacks. Inside the prefecture, within a luxurious mansion, a roar suddenly erupted. Who dares to destroy the array nodes I set up? A formidable presence burst forth, directly shattering the room he was in, revealing the figure with disheveled hair and a black bone sword floating in front of him. Even stranger, around the black bone sword, a bloody mist continuously emerged and was then absorbed. This added an even more terrifying aura to the bone sword. What happened, Lord Demon? Sensing the commotion here, several figures appeared, coming to stand in front of the disheveled figure's room, kneeling on the ground with faces full of fear. If Wei Xinghe were here, he would notice that these several figures, both their faces and the hands they revealed, bore black runes similar to those on Wei Zihao, which were bizarrely unsettling. Somebody is trying to breach the Great Array. The attack is coming from outside the city. Go out immediately and kill them. As soon as these words fell, 3 more loud noises resonated across the city. The disheveled figure shuddered. The black bone sword floating in front of him also showed a noticeable slowdown in the gathering of the bloody mist around it. Damn, go out immediately. If you cannot kill that person, bring me back his head, ordered the disheveled figure ferociously. Yes, Lord Demon. The figures shivered, not daring to delay. They instantly vanished from the mansion, using rapid movement techniques to head toward the city outskirts. Only the disheveled figure was left behind, eyes showing an expression of puzzled uncertainty. Who could it be that can so easily destroy the nodes of the blood-melting soul refining array at 4 locations? Even though I have simplified this array many times over, it shouldn't be something the natives of this world could understand. Suddenly, 3 more loud noises erupted. The disheveled figure shuddered again. The bone sword in front of him, surrounded by blood mist, had now directly lost a third of it. Chapter 550, Heavenly Demon Bone. Blocking. Damn it! When he saw 1/3 of the blood fog condensed around the black bone sword dissipate, the disheveled figure flew into a rage. This black bone sword was the treasure he had gone through great pains to obtain, not hesitating to destroy the Qingyun Sword Pavilion to seize it. On that day, using the breath imprint he had left in advance, he spent some time to find those fleeing Sword Pavilion disciples. And indeed, From one of those disciples, he found that treasure. To his delight, what he had originally thought was just an extremely lethal sword Dao magical treasure, almost demonic in nature, turned out to be crafted from the skeleton of an ancient heavenly demon from countless millennia ago. However, after the long passage of time, the original demonic essence of the heavenly demon had been mostly worn away. It was only then that the founding ancestor of Qingyun Sword Pavilion was able to master it and did not fall into the demon path. Yet even so, the founder of Qingyun Sword Pavilion was not an easy person to deal with back then. With extremely strong killing intent, he eventually swept through the era with the bone sword in his hand and his powerful sword Dao cultivation. Ultimately, he founded the formidable sword Dao sect of Qingyun Sword Pavilion. However, because the bone sword was too demonic in nature, without a strong will to suppress the invasion of the demonic qi, it was easy for one's heart and spirit to be damaged and to fall into the demon path. Thus, after the founder passed away, several subsequent masters of the bone sword suffered damage to their heart and spirit and went insane. In the end, the Sword Pavilion decided to seal it completely, and except for the sect leader, no one knew its whereabouts. The disheveled figure, when the origin will had not yet awakened back in those days, had heard his master talk about that treasure but had never seen the true face of the bone sword. After obtaining it, he realized that what he thought was just an ordinary devilish magical treasure actually had a great background, being made from the bones of the ancient heavenly demon. Upon discovering this point, the disheveled figure was overjoyed. What was the ancient heavenly demon after all? It was a demon god evolved from the origin energy of the demon path at the time when a world was evolving. Its source of the devil technique was even purer than his, who was a reincarnated great demon awake to his past. Therefore, upon obtaining the black bone sword, the disheveled figure decided he must devour it. By then, not only would the foundation of the demon body he had always yearned for be achieved, but he could also ascend to a higher level. More importantly, after devouring the bone sword and obtaining its source of devil technique within, he could avoid being targeted by the will of this realm. Since Dao has yin and yang, the ancient heavenly demon was naturally born from the origin of this world and would not be rejected. However, the ancient heavenly demon had fallen too long ago, and the source of the devil within the bone sword had only a sliver that had not been worn away. It needed to be nurtured and strengthened again to be worth devouring. Therefore, after getting the bone sword, the disheveled figure immediately decided to use the blood-refining technique to nurture and strengthen the source of the devil within the bone sword. Just as he was pursuing those Sword Pavilion disciples, he came to Cangzhou and was not far from the state mansion. So he didn't kill those disciples but rather used a devil technique to bewilder and convert them to serve him. Spending several months, he laid down array nodes in the state mansion city and activated the Grand Array. He planned to use the flesh, blood, and souls of the entire city's citizens of Cangzhou Prefecture City to nurture and strengthen the source of the devil in the bone sword for him to devour. Everything was going very smoothly, but unexpectedly, a hitch had now arisen. Somehow, someone was able to see through the mysteries of the array he had laid down and easily destroy several nodes. This Cangzhou is just a remote small state after all. Logically speaking, there should be no more than a dozen people at the innate realm at best. Why would there be an expert capable of breaking my array? Could it be that the heavenly Dao's will is causing mischief again? The disheveled figure's face turned ashen. He had deliberately chosen Cangzhou Prefecture City for the blood sacrifice because he had seen that this remote small state had few experts. The strongest were merely at the innate minor achievement, not possibly a match for him. Moreover, because it was remote, even if they called for help, it would take a long time to arrive. But he had not expected, the array had not been activated for long when someone came to interfere, and within a short time destroyed several array nodes. This made the disheveled figure suspect that the detestable will of heaven was targeting him again. Damn heavenly Dao, just wait for me. Once I devour this heavenly demon bone, condense the demon body, and achieve my foundation, one day, I will devour even you. The destruction of the array nodes slowed the gathering speed of the blood fog by a full 1/3, which greatly annoyed the disheveled figure. Originally, in one day, He could have carried out the blood sacrifice of the entire city's living creatures. But now it would take 3 times longer, introducing many variables, infuriating him. If it weren't for his need to maintain the Grand Array and his temporary inability to leave, he would really like to rush out of the city to see who dared to ruin his plans. Fortunately, after sensing that his several slaves had left the city and the array nodes were no longer being destroyed, the disheveled figure breathed a sigh of relief. But he also knew that since someone had already taken action, there would likely be more variables to come. Without any further reservation, his heart and spirit surged, and his originally pale face suddenly turned red. The next moment, the black array formation light screen enveloping the State Mansion City suddenly started to operate. It condensed many black cheese snakes that swooped down toward the ground below. Not good. Those strange snakes are coming again. Chapter 551. In the city, the people who had been closely watching the dark array formation light screen in the sky were suddenly alarmed when they witnessed this scene. The dark light screen that had mysteriously appeared above their heads was condensing into many black cheese snakes. Anyone touched by them, whether they were martial artists with strong chi blood or feeble elderly and children, without exception, would have their essence, blood, and soul plundered, turning them into dry corpses. Seeing them come down again, how could they not be terrified? Suddenly, the entire State Mansion City was engulfed in a wave of panic. Countless people were in a state of panic, fearfully wailing. Who can tell me, what in the world is that thing? Inside the City Lord Mansion, several figures with innate realm presences gathered together, shocked by the black cheese snakes descending from the sky. The City Lord, after chopping off a strand of black chi that had fallen inside the City Lord Mansion and struggling to dissipate it with his innate true chi, asked in astonishment and anger, "City Lord, I have never seen such a sight before and truly do not know what is going on." A scholarly old man with white hair and beard said with a wry smile. If Lu Qing were here, he would recognize this man as the elder from the Lin family with whom he had a confrontation. The other innate realm experts were equally baffled, completely unaware of the origin of this black chi. "Gentlemen, I know what is happening." Just then, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them, startling the people of the City Lord Mansion. Because the person arrived so swiftly, they had not noticed any signs beforehand. Who is it? Immediately, some guards intended to move forward and capture the newcomer. However, the newcomer merely released a burst of aura, causing several guards to step back in shock. Innate realm. The newcomer was an expert of the same level as their city lord. "Who are you, sir?" After the initial shock, the city lord and others relaxed slightly when they realized that Wei Xinghe's cultivation level was not stronger than theirs and then inquired. "I am Wei Xinghe, the head of the Wei family from Song County. Pleased to meet the city lord and all gentlemen here." Wei Xinghe bowed with his hands clasped. "So, it's Wei family, master. Congratulations on breaking through to the innate realm. It's indeed a joyous occasion." The State Mansion City Lord was somewhat surprised, and the other innate realm experts also looked astonished. They were certainly aware of the Wei family. After all, although the Wei family had its roots in Song County, their patriarch, Wei Shanhai, was a well-known veteran innate realm expert. Thus, the Wei family had quite a reputation throughout Song State. What they didn't expect was that even the head of the Wei family had stepped into the innate realm. With double innate realm experts in the Wei family, their status in Song State would surely rise significantly in the future. However, everyone recognized that this was not the time to dwell on such matters. The city lord asked, "Master Wei just mentioned that he knows the origin of the dark light screen above us. Is that true?" "Indeed." Wei Xinghe nodded. "The dark light screen above us is formed by an evil formation secretly laid by a powerful evil cultivator. This evil cultivator set up this sinister formation to perform a blood sacrifice using all the citizens of State Mansion City to cultivate devil techniques." Blood sacrifice the entire population of State Mansion City to cultivate devil techniques? Upon hearing Wei Xinghe's words, everyone gasped in horror. Although they could sense the danger emanating from the dark light screen above, they had never imagined it to be something so terrifying. "Then, Master Wei, Is there a way to break this formation? The State Mansion City Lord hastily inquired. The others also stared intently at Wei Xinghe. Previously, they had attempted to break the dark light screen. However, the screen was positioned too high, and they couldn't reach it. Even when attacking with sword chi, it was like a clay ox entering the sea. The light screen showed no response whatsoever, swallowing all their attacks without even a tremble. City Lord, you overestimate me. With my limited skills, I am unable to break such a grand formation. Wei Xinghe shook his head, delivering a disappointing answer. But quickly, his next statement revived everyone's spirits. However, there is a master, currently outside the city, trying to break the formation. With him here, I believe it won't be long before this evil formation is destroyed. So, City Lord and everyone, there is no need to worry too much. You are saying there is an expert outside the city breaking the formation? Everyone's spirits lifted, and they looked at Wei Xinghe with excitement. Indeed, the loud noises just now, I assume you all heard them too, were indeed from that expert breaking the formation. People remembered indeed hearing some noises just now, but their attention had been focused on the black light screen above their heads, and they had not paid much attention. Wei Family Master, is that expert really sure he can break through the formation? At this point, an innate realm expert couldn't help but ask. I can't guarantee 100%, but what I can say is, if even he can't break the formation, then I'm afraid no one in this world can save us anymore. Let's just accept our fate here. No need to struggle. Although Wei Xinghe's tone was bold, it was precisely this that reassured everyone a bit. If that's the case, Wei Family Master, is there anything we can do to help? Asked the State Mansion City Lord. Let the expert handle breaking the formation. But City Lord, that expert is kind-hearted and cannot stand to see living creatures suffer. He risks coming here to break the formation, also for the sake of the citizens in the city. Now, the black chi snake is raging, devouring the lives of many citizens in the city. It's likely we need to step in and stop it. Otherwise, when that expert breaks the formation and sees us ignoring the lives of the city's citizens, I'm afraid he will be displeased. Of course, as the Lord of the city, it is my duty to protect the city's residents, said the State Mansion City Lord immediately. The other innate realm experts looked at each other, then nodded. This is an act of morality, and we naturally have to lend a hand. Then we should not delay, let's head out. Wei Xinghe said immediately, his face showing happiness. Originally, following Lu Qing's suggestion, he had wanted to find a place to hide and wait for Lu Qing to successfully break the formation. But when he arrived here and saw the withered corpses of the citizens along the way and the resurgence of the black chi snake, Wei Xinghe didn't want to keep hiding anymore. If even they, the experts of the innate realm, only cared for their own safety and all hid away, then the citizens of the entire city would truly have no way out. Even if Lu Qing ultimately succeeded in breaking the formation, given the extent of the black chi snakes ravaging outside, by then who knows how many would be dead or injured. Thus, upon sensing the presence of the city lord and others, he immediately came over. His purpose was to persuade them to join him in stopping the rampage of the black chi snake. Just as Wei Xinghe and the State Mansion City Lord were trying to stop the black chi snake's rampage, outside the city Lu Qing also faced an attack. Just as he was taking out 3 magic arrows from the Chenkuan Chi bag, preparing to continue destroying the formation nodes, suddenly, he saw several figures darting out from the city, quickly heading his way. 4 innate realm experts? No, their bodies don't have innate essence. Seeing the figures, Lu Qing showed a trace of surprise. The speed of the people coming was not inferior to that of innate realm experts, but he didn't sense the unique innate essence from them. Instead, he sensed a kind of aura from them that he found quite unpleasant. The 4 figures moved extremely quickly and took just a few breaths to reach Lu Qing. Upon seeing the bow and arrows in his hands, they immediately showed a murderous intent. It's this person, kill. They didn't give Lu Qing any chance to speak. The black runes surged on their bodies, and they each wielded their weapons, charging towards Lu Qing. Puppets?
No.
Lu Qing saw the runes emerging on their faces and arms, and was initially shocked. However, he didn't have time to think more, as their attack had already arrived in front of him. Interesting. A slight smile appeared on Lu Qing's face. Just as their weapons were about to reach him, suddenly, his gaze hardened, and a yellow light flickered on his body. The next moment, the four figures instantly went from motion to stillness, forcibly immobilized less than 3 feet from Lu Qing, unable to move. The strong impact was completely borne by themselves. Each spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and had suffered no light internal injuries. All the figures immediately showed panicked eyes. But before they could understand what was happening, they saw Lu Qing already clenching his fist, ready to throw a punch. Chapter 552 Origin of the Demon Cultivator, Dark Knight Demon General. Boom! Lu Qing's strength was formidable. Puppet servants who had taken shortcuts and had their powers artificially enhanced were nothing to him. Even a true expert of the innate realm could not withstand his fists. As such, with just one punch which didn't even directly hit their bodies, Lu Qing sent the four figures he had immobilized flying backwards with the terrifying force of his punch alone, spewing blood. When they landed, their tendons and bones were completely shattered, nearly beyond repair. Ah! Black runes on the bodies of the four rapidly surged and trembled as if trying to burrow out of their skins. In the next moment, the aura emanating from their bodies began to coalesce again, as if they were going to stand up once more. This scene took Lu Qing by surprise. Even though he hadn't used much strength in that punch, it should have been more than enough to resist by the likes of these individuals. However, they were merely severely injured. Not only were they not killed by his punch, but they also seemed to have indications of continuing to stand and fight. Such strange circumstances were against the common sense of martial arts. Interesting. Lu Qing immediately realized that the strange situation defying the logic of martial arts was caused by the black runes on their bodies. With a flick of his finger, a yellow light flashed on his body, and the earth vein primordial magnetism emanating from him once again suppressed the few to the ground, rendering them unable to move. He activated his superpower and took a focused look. Soon, a few lines of text emerged from their bodies. Lu Jing, disciple of Qingyun Sword Pavilion from Jizhou. Cultivation. Postnatal internal realm. Controlled by a mysterious demon cultivator through a secret technique, lost sanity. Turned into an obedient demon servant, trading life energy for innate level strength. So they were indeed being controlled? The information that emerged on the individuals didn't surprise Lu Qing. Instead, it was their identities that made everything clear to him. It seemed the mysterious demon cultivator was the one who destroyed Qingyun Sword Pavilion several months ago. Roar! Despite being suppressed by Lu Qing using earth vein primordial magnetism, those Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples were still unyielding. Their black runes rapidly revolved, continuously drawing upon their life energy and erupting with a powerful aura, trying to struggle free. You all just stay put for a while, Lu Qing said indifferently. With a mere thought, the primordial magnetic power he controlled surged, once again pressing the four controlled Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples firmly to the ground. After doing this, Lu Qing looked up towards State Mansion City. While he was quite interested in studying the black runes on these people, it obviously wasn't the time for such research. He sensed that the demon path array in the direction ahead had started to operate again. If the delay continued, the people inside the city might not hold on much longer. Without further attention to the four controlled disciples of Qingyun Sword Pavilion, Lu Qing notched another arrow and drew his bow. His arrow technique, Starfall, was unleashed, firing 3 arrows swiftly into the sky. Following 3 muffled sounds emanating from within the city, 3 more array nodes were destroyed. And this time, the black array formation light screen enveloping State Mansion City also changed. It trembled slightly, and the originally intense black light grew dimmer. The Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples who were suppressed on the ground witnessed this, and their eyes showed shock. They finally realized how the array nodes set up by Lord Demon were being destroyed. It was this young man who was using arrows to break them, After firing the 3 arrows, Lu Qing did not pause, taking out 3 more magic arrows and firing another 3 shots. Damn it! Following the fall of these 3 arrows, 3 more nodes were broken. The disheveled figure, seeing the blood mist around the black bone's sword dissipate by another third, could no longer contain his frustration. He had set up 36 array nodes, and nearly a third had already been destroyed. If the destruction continued at this rate, once more than half the nodes were destroyed, the hastily arranged blood-melting soul-refining array would no longer be able to sustain itself. Those useless fools couldn't even stall for a moment. I want to see who the rat is that dares to ruin my grand scheme. The disheveled figure knew that if he let the person outside keep destroying the array, it wouldn't be long before it was broken. If that happened, his efforts would be wasted. This time, setting up the array had nearly exhausted all the resources he had plundered from Qingyun's sword pavilion. If the array was broken, he would not have the resources to set up another one. With a chilling look in his eyes, the disheveled figure's form suddenly disappeared from the spot, rising into the air with the enhancement of array power, and flew out of the city. What is that? In the city, the State Mansion City Lord and others, who had been holding off the black cheese snakes together, had been closely watching the dark canopy above them all along. Seeing the disheveled figure flying up into the sky, they were greatly startled. Could there really be people in the world who could control the wind and fly, escaping into the skies? Even innate realm experts were not capable of flight. City Lord. That person is the evil cultivator who laid the siege on State Mansion. Wei Xinghe looked up and immediately shouted. Now that he has shown himself, it must be the work of the expert breaking the formation. If we just hold on a little longer, we might witness the moment the formation breaks. Hearing this, the State Mansion City Lord and his people were invigorated. Indeed, they could feel that the black light above had become dimmer. Even the black cheese snakes descending were weakened somewhat. So Wei Xinghe wasn't lying to them. There truly was an expert outside trying to break the formation to rescue them. Realizing this, the innate realm warriors' spirits were lifted, and their effort in extinguishing black cheese snakes became much more vigorous. Chapter 553. Lord Demon is leaving the city? From another dim street, Wei Zihao also noticed the disheveled figure heading towards the city gate and was shocked. He sensed the aura burst forth from the State Mansion City Lord and others. Realizing that he himself could no longer capture his father, he immediately withdrew and headed towards the city gate as well. The disheveled figure sped away, flying. Quickly, he reached the top of the city gate and sensed the positions of several demon servants. However, this sensing shocked him. The positions of the demon servants were, surprisingly, a mile away from the city gate. The moment the disheveled figure appeared on top of the city gate, Lu Qing sensed it. He looked up, and when he saw the figure in a black robe and sensed the pure devil technique aura, he raised his eyebrows. It is indeed you. You! Unlike Lu Qing's composure, the disheveled figure, upon seeing Lu Qing, was greatly shaken and his eyes suddenly widened. Yes, it's me, you demon cultivators. I couldn't finish you off with my blade in the holy city, and you escaped. I didn't expect you to come here and harm the living creatures. Lu Qing looked at the disheveled figure and immediately activated his superpower. During his time in the holy city, he had tried several times to probe the other party's information, but due to the short time, he had not succeeded. This time, he wanted to see exactly what background this demon cultivator had. Boy, I didn't expect it to be you. Truly fate makes enemies meet. I've been looking for you for a long time. The disheveled figure never expected to encounter Lu Qing here. After the shock, his face revealed a fierce smile. After that day in the holy city, I swore to find you even if I searched the ends of the earth, to flay and extract your bones, refine your divine soul, to avenge that blade wound. I didn't expect you to appear before me so soon. Thinking back to the losses on that day in the holy city, the disheveled figure's heart still bled. If those streams of origin energy hadn't been taken away by Lu Qing then, he would have already constructed his demon body and swept across the world. Why would he need to be so cautious now? in this desolate place, slowly plotting. Thinking of all this, the murderous intent in the disheveled figure's heart surged relentlessly, wishing he could capture and torture him to death immediately. However, his rationale was still there. He knew Lu Qing was no ordinary person. As the first to cross the tribulation since the rules of heaven and earth changed and the spiritual energy recovered in this realm, Lu Qing was clearly that devilish genius dearly loved by the heavenly Tao Qi fortune of this realm. Such a genius couldn't be measured by common sense. Since that battle in the holy city, months had passed. Who knew to what extent this young man's cultivation had grown? So, although his heart was boiling with the intent to kill, the disheveled figure still suppressed it forcibly and did not rush out of the city. Flaying and refining my divine soul? Demon child, do you even qualify? Or did you forget who, like a rat, fled desperately from under my blade that day? While Lu Qing spoke sarcastically, he was somewhat surprised internally. Because he had activated his superpower and had been watching the figure on the city wall for more than 10 breaths, he still failed to probe any information about him. Given his current cultivation realm, even probing information about a spiritual artifact should have been enough within more than 10 breaths. What exactly was the background of the opponent that it took longer than probing a spiritual artifact? What did you say, boy? The disheveled figure, hearing Lu Qing's words, became furious. An existence who had lived for an unknown number of years, now being called a demon child by a native young boy. How could he, who had always been proud and exalted, bear this? Am I wrong, demon child? On that day, you didn't even have the courage to fight me face to face and only dared to sneak around like a rat in the dark. With just you, seeking revenge on me, did your cultivation of devil techniques also ruin your brain? Lu Qing continued his sarcasm, stalling for time to probe the other party's information. Ah! You dare insult me! Repeatedly ridiculed by Lu Qing, the disheveled figure was about to go insane. Yet he harbored immense apprehension towards Lu Qing and didn't dare to leave the city to battle him. Because without the enhancement of the Grand Formation, he was truly unsure if he could defeat Lu Qing. It was then that Lu Qing finally saw several slowly floating pieces of text emerge from the disheveled figure. Lian, disciple of Qingyun's Sword Pavilion, one of the 108 demon generals under Black Sky Demon Venerable in the Heavenly Origin Great World. Reincarnation of the Dark Knight Demon General. Cultivation. Great success of innate realm. Originally one of the followers of the Black Sky Demon Venerable in the innate Great World, he fled through the cosmos due to being hunted by the righteous, and finally, gravely wounded, he resorted to the technique of reincarnation and was reborn in this minor mountain realm. As a demon general, his cultivation is comparable to those with a primordial spirit in the Qi refinement path, making his primordial spirit tough to annihilate. After reincarnation, there is a chance to solve the mystery of the fetus and awaken memories of past and present lives. When Lu Qing finished reading the text floating above the disheveled figure, he was deeply shocked. He hadn't expected this demon cultivator before him to have such a grand origin. He was not a creature of this world, but from the Heavenly Origin Great World. And he was a reincarnation of one of the demon generals under Black Sky Demon Venerable. No wonder investigating his background had taken so much time. Atop the city walls, the disheveled figure, feeling Lu Qing's gaze, suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He had a feeling that Lu Qing's gaze was strangely penetrating, as if he could see all his secrets, making him shiver internally. This sudden chill, in turn, quenched the disheveled figure's rage, clearing his mind. Alarms were sounding in his heart. Although he didn't know why he had this premonition, he understood there was definitely something fishy. How come, demon child, you keep saying you want revenge on me, yet now you only dare to shrink within the formation and not come out? After discovering the other's background, Lu Qing's heart was completely at ease. Although the origin of the other party was astonishing, his current cultivation was only at the great success of the innate realm. At the same level of cultivation, even if the other party's background was astonishing, he was not afraid. Boy, do not be smug. You are merely relying on your fortune to be so arrogant. But, I tell you, From ancient times, those who were favored by fortune never ended well. Go ahead and be smug now. But when you're wrapped up in karma and unable to break free, you'll regret it. After sensing the forewarning from the unknown, the disheveled figure totally calmed down. He made up his mind that unless Lu Qing attacked into the formation, he would not strike first. And he spoke half-truths, trying to shake Lu Qing's heart and spirit. Indeed, following his words, Lu Qing's gaze slightly hardened. "Ha ha! Scared now?" Seeing this, the disheveled figure burst out laughing. "You locals, like frogs in a well, think you're invincible just because you have a bit of fortune. Boy, I've seen many like you. Just wait, the prouder you are now, the more miserable you will be later. One day, you will neither live nor die as you wish." Ah! Watching the disheveled figure laugh wildly, Lu Qing became calm instead. A mysterious smile suddenly appeared on his face. "Demon child, you dare call yourself this venerable one? I wonder what your master, Black Sky Demon Venerable, would think if he knew? What did you say?" Upon hearing this, the disheveled figure trembled, disbelief flashing in his eyes. The biggest secret in his heart had suddenly been spoken by Lu Qing, causing his heart and spirit to shake violently. It was just then that Lu Qing suddenly bent his bow and notched an arrow, his heart and spirit swiftly operating, gathering all the spiritual energy within 100 meters into the magic arrow in less than 3 breaths' time. Then, letting go, a streak of light flew towards the city gate at an unimaginable speed. Chapter 554. Break Formation, Cocoon of Dark Qi, Giant Hand. Lu Qing's arrow was faster than all the magic arrows he had previously shot. In an instant, it reached the figure with unkempt hair. The powerful strength contained in the arrow instantly snapped the figure out of shock. He didn't have time to think about why Lu Qing could accurately reveal his origin in one sentence. His mind raced, and a black-boned sword appeared in front of him, while the power from the array behind him rapidly converged, heading towards the magic arrow. Boom! A loud noise erupted, and the collision of powers, both beyond the limits of the innate realm, instantly turned the air within tens of meters into a white fog. The entire gate of the State Mansion City trembled. If it weren't for the protection of a black array formation light screen, it would probably have collapsed. Quite something. As the white fog cleared, Lu Qing looked at the unharmed figure with unkempt hair, somewhat surprised. On the contrary, the figure looked at the black-bone sword in front of him with a grim expression. The blood mist that had gathered around the bone sword had completely dissipated. Not only that, but the bit of heavenly demon origin he had painstakingly nurtured and grown with his blood was mostly depleted. The heavy loss of the heavenly demon origin he had cultivated for so long pained the figure deeply. What infuriated him more was that the power of Lu Qing's arrow far exceeded his expectations. How long had it been, and Lu Qing had already become so strong? Just one arrow, bolstered by the array and with the heavenly demon bone sword in hand, had nearly overwhelmed him. Adding to that, Lu Qing suddenly revealing his identity. In that moment, the figure's wariness towards Lu Qing peaked. He knew that this fortunate young man's strength had reached an unfathomable level. Even with the array's enhancement, unless Lu Qing entered the array himself, he would struggle to deal with him. Heavenly demon bone sword? At this moment, Lu Qing also used his superpower to probe the origin of that black bone sword. He also realized the purpose of the demon formation set by the figure was to use the citizens within the State Mansion City, numbering tens of thousands, to blood sacrifice the bone sword, to nurture and grow the heavenly demon origin within the bone sword and then ingest it himself, forging a demon body. So the text message earlier about the core of the array was referring to this bone sword. A realization dawned on Lu Qing, and he understood the figure's plot. Without hesitation, he took out another magic arrow and, after a brief build-up, shot a streak of light towards the city gate. However, the figure with unkempt hair was prepared this time. Knowing the power of Lu Qing's arrows, how could he confront it head-on? He immediately dodged, avoiding the attack of the magic arrow altogether. Yet, Lu Qing, Seeing the figure dodge the magic arrow showed not disappointment but a hint of a mocking expression. The next moment, the power of the heart attached to the magic arrow activated, and the arrow that had initially missed suddenly veered downward towards the city. Boom! A muffled sound came from within the city, causing the figure's expression to drastically change, because he sensed that another node of the array within the city had been destroyed by Lu Qing. Demon Child, do you think hiding in the array will prevent me from dealing with you? I want to see how many array nodes you can have destroyed, Lu Qing said, then slightly moved his hand to produce 3 magic arrows, drew his bow, and shot 3 streaks of light into the sky. He again performed the Skyfall arrow technique, intending to continue destroying the array nodes within the city. Damn it! Seeing this, the figure looked extremely perturbed. He knew he was now in a dilemma. The arrows shot by Lu Qing were immensely powerful, and the defense provided by the array formation light screen was hardly adequate. Unless he utilized the Black Bone Sword, he might be able to stop them. Using the Black Bone Sword would inevitably deplete the heavenly demon origin he had painstakingly nurtured. But if he didn't intercept them, the arrows flying into the city and destroying the array nodes were equally unbearable. The array nodes were crucial for the operation of the blood-melting soul refining array. If more than half of the nodes were destroyed, the grand array would collapse. Without the force of the array to bolster him, he too would not be a match for Lu Qing. Young man, must you be so aggressive? The figure looked terrible as he stared at Lu Qing. This time, Lu Qing didn't speak but simply took out 3 more magic arrows and placed them on the bow. Fine, young man, you're forcing my hand. Seeing this, the figure knew that it was impossible to feign ignorance with Lu Qing. His eyes turned cold, and suddenly, he formed a spell with his hand, and his heart and spirit surged. The black array formation light screen that shrouded the State Mansion City immediately began to change. The black chi snakes that had been rampaging around the city, trying to absorb the chi blood essence of the citizens, all abandoned their targets and flew toward the black array formation light screen in the sky, merging into it. Simultaneously, the black array formation light screen rapidly shrank, concentrating in front of the figure towards the Black Bone Sword. Everything happened very fast. In less than a dozen breaths, the massive black array formation light screen that had shrouded the State Mansion City, making it unnaturally dark, had disappeared, absorbed into the Black Bone Sword. This left Wei Xinghe and others, who were dealing with the black chi snakes, stunned as they glimpsed the gorgeous sunset in the sky. Chapter 555. What's happened? Why has the black light screen disappeared? While the others in the innate realm were still puzzled, only Wei Xinghe instantly reacted, grasping the situation. He exclaimed with great joy, "It's that powerful stranger, he's successfully broken the formation. Let's go. We need to get out of the city quickly." Before his voice even faded away, he was already deploying his movement technique, heading out of the city. The rest of the innates, after exchanging glances, also employed their movement techniques and followed behind Wei Xinghe, hurrying towards the city gates. "Boy, you've messed up my plans time and time again. This time, I will make you pay the price." Outside the city gates, the disheveled figure with the floating black bone sword in front was emanating an astonishing aura. Having absorbed an entire array formation light screen, it seemed on the verge of undergoing some kind of terrifying transformation. Seeing this, Lu Qing immediately shot an arrow. He had not interfered with the disheveled figure earlier because he sensed that the opponent was actively withdrawing the magic. This was good for the townspeople inside, potentially reducing many casualties, so he chose to wait and see. Now that the demon formation had been withdrawn, and the black bone sword was clearly amiss, Lu Qing would naturally not hold back any longer. The magic arrow turned into a streak of light, swiftly flying towards the black bone sword. In the blink of an eye, it seemed about to strike the bone sword. The next instant, a hand grasped the black bone sword, gave a gentle wave, and with a loud explosion, the magic arrow shot by Lu Qing was deflected away. "Boy, you forced my hand. I want to extract your divine soul, refine it with demon fire, make you wish you were dead, unable to live or die, forever living in torment. The disheveled figure, gripping the black bone sword, had a ferocious expression on his face. Just as Lu Qing braced himself, thinking the opponent was about to cast a significant spell, carefully on guard, he was shocked to find the disheveled figure suddenly open his mouth wide and swallow the black bone sword whole. Immediately afterward, a powerful aura burst forth from the disheveled figure. Black mist emerged and enveloped him, making him look like a demon god. The black mist swirled rapidly and finally condensed into a cocoon about 10 meters high, floating above the city gates. What kind of aura is that? Wei Xinghe and the others, who were hurrying towards the city gates, suddenly sensed this aura and felt their hearts violently thumping. Looking ahead with alarm and uncertainty, they all felt a terrifying and evil aura brewing at the city gates. The mere sensing of it left them feeling frightened and their heart and spirit trembling. Young master, be careful. He seems to be forcibly trying to break through to the Foundation establishment realm. Yan's voice resonated in Lu Qing's mind. It had been closely watching the battle. Seeing the changes in the demon cultivator, it immediately warned. I know, Lu Qing nodded. He had already seen what the opponent was trying to do. Devour the heavenly demon bone sword to forge a demon body. This was precisely the purpose of the disheveled figure who had set up the formation to besiege State Mansion City. He just didn't expect that despite his interference, the opponent still managed to deploy this secret technique. However, if you want to condense a demon body, you have to ask my permission first. Lu Qing took out a magic arrow from his Chenkuan Qi bag and placed it upon the treasure bow. After drawing upon spiritual energy, he shot an arrow towards the black mist cocoon. The magic arrow streaked like a long rainbow piercing the sun, reaching the black mist cocoon in a breath's time. It seemed to sense the incoming attack, as the surface of the black mist cocoon suddenly sprouted numerous black mist tentacles, intertwining to hinder the magic arrow. Despite the power of the magic arrow shot by Lu Qing, those black tentacles were exceptionally tough. And due to their large numbers, they managed to block Lu Qing's magic arrow in the end. Seeing that the magic arrow was ineffective, Lu Qing's expression finally became solemn. The arrow just now had been the strongest one he could currently muster. It wasn't that his strength was insufficient, but rather the magic arrow could only carry a limited amount of spiritual energy, only able to accumulate so much force. After all, the magic arrows in his Chenkuan Qi bag were only made with 1,000 refinement treasure steel, and their power was limited. I should have known. I should have crafted a few magic arrows out of outer heaven fallen iron to see if you could block those. Lu Qing placed the treasure bow into the Chenkuan Qi bag, and a war saber appeared in his hand. This saber, wholly white, had an invisible edge that seemed to slice through the air. It was the same one he had reforged with the leaving fire tripod, made entirely of outer heaven fallen iron. 8 directions. Since you were reforged, I haven't had the chance to use you. Today, I shall wield you to exorcise demons and slay monsters. Lu Qing caressed the war saber, which he had named 8 Directions. After a long howl, a yellow light flickered around Lu Qing, and in the next moment, with a stomp, he cracked the ground in a radius of several tens of meters. After a burst of white fog, he abruptly leaped high into the air, as if teleporting, appearing atop the city gate, before the cocoon of dark energy. Facing the black tendrils that wrapped around him like a net stretching from heaven to earth, he raised the war saber high, striking down like thunder. With that slice, a terrifying sword qi, dozens of meters long, materialized out of thin air, slashing towards the cocoon of dark energy. Before the boundless black tendrils, this terrifying sword qi was utterly unstoppable. They shattered to pieces before even drawing near, dissolving into wisps of dark fog. With no more obstruction from the black tendrils, the sword qi, unadorned and straightforward, struck the cocoon of dark energy in the sight of Wei Xinghe and the others who had just arrived at the city gate. Boom! The sword qi collided with the cocoon of darkness, and under the tremendous force of the impact, the majestic State Mansion City gate, standing dozens of meters tall, could no longer hold and exploded thunderously. Countless bricks and stones scattered, kicking up dust and dirt into the sky. Fortunately, at this time, there were no longer any people lingering near the city gate. Otherwise, that single collision alone would have caused untold death and injury. Midair, Lu Qing was wrapped in a wisp of breeze, calmly hovering in place, watching the dust billow below. He could feel that his strike had failed to cut down the person inside the cocoon of black energy. Within the dust, a very powerful aura was still brewing. Sure enough, before the dust had settled, a sudden whirlwind arose. A gigantic shadow burst forth from the dust, lunging at Lu Qing. Lu Qing sensed the warning in his heart, and when he saw the figure of the shadow, his pupils suddenly constricted. Without hesitation, propelled by his thoughts, the breeze wrapping around him violently shook, allowing him to adroitly evade the attack. Whoosh! An unexpected gust swept by, just grazing Lu Qing's body. And not far away, Wei Xinghe and the others witnessed a scene they would never forget. For they saw a gigantic black hand emerge from the dust, reaching for Lu Qing in midair. The huge black hand, missing its first strike, made a swift turn and swiped at Lu Qing again. The force of the palm whipped up a gust like a furious roar, causing Lu Qing in midair to almost lose his balance. The massive hand nearly hit him, leaving Wei Xinghe and the others trembling with fear. But thanks to Lu Qing's excellent talismanic magic, he managed to steady himself at the last moment, dodging the black hand's strike. Then, invoking the breeze around him, he rapidly descended to the ground. After all, his realm was still merely at the Qi refinement level, and his ability to stay in the air relied on the power of talismans, preventing him from exerting his true strength. Strength arises from the ground, and only on solid ground could he fight better. However, just as Lu Qing dodged the giant black hand and was about to land, another massive black hand, not yet cleared by the scattering dust, reached out, and alongside the other hand, from above and below, they moved to clap Lu Qing caught between them in midair. This sudden strike, aided by the violent winds, made it difficult for Lu Qing to stir the breeze around him. Ultimately, Lu Qing was unable to evade in time and was caught and fiercely struck by the pair of giant black hands. Young Master Lu, Wei Xinghe, not far away, was shocked by the scene and cried out in alarm. And it was the whirlwind caused by this strike that gradually dispersed the dust covering the city gate, revealing the true form of that huge shadow. When they saw what it was, everyone's eyes widened, and their bodies trembled. Chapter 556. Cutting Melons and Vegetables, the Fourth Heaven and Earth Dao Sound. What is that monster? When they clearly saw the huge dark silhouette amidst the dust, Wei Xinghe and the others all widened their eyes in shock. There stood a gigantic figure that was 5 to 6 zhang tall, right where the city gate had collapsed, with a green face and fangs and essentially covered in dark long hair. Its arms were nearly as long as its body, with massive palms like 2 giant doors, extremely terrifying. It was absolutely a monster they had never seen before. Feeling the dreadful aura emanating from the monster's body, Wei Xinghe and the others trembled. They sensed that the monster was extremely powerful, apparently having surpassed the limits of the innate realm and reached another level. Young Master Lu. Feeling the terror of the monster, Wei Xinghe looked at its clasped giant palms, utterly disheartened. Even with his confidence in Lu Qing, he did not believe Lu Qing would come out of this unscathed. However, before Wei Xinghe finished his grief, suddenly there came a heaven-shattering scream from the monster. Immediately, everyone saw a flash of cold light. A mighty sword Qi burst forth, slashing open a huge crack in the ground. The palm of the monster below also shattered, gushing out a great amount of blood. With a severed palm and a shower of blood raining down, Lu Qing's figure also appeared, gently landing on the ground. Young Master Lu is unharmed. Wei Xinghe looked at Lu Qing, unscathed, and was overjoyed. Demon child, I didn't expect you to transform this quickly. Lu Qing avoided the blood rain, looking up at the giant monster clutching its palm in pain, somewhat surprised. Even he hadn't expected that the adversary would condense its demon body so quickly. "Kid, you're courting death," the monster roared loudly, enduring the severe pain, and raised its right foot, stomping down hard towards where Lu Qing stood. Its massive foot completely obscured the light overhead, crashing down towards him like a boulder. "Not learning your lesson." Feeling the immense pressure overhead, Lu Qing was not the least bit nervous. Instead, a trace of mocking appeared on his face. The next moment, a splendid sword light lit up from his hand, slicing towards the monster's foot that was in mid-air. Unsurprisingly, before the war saber entirely crafted from outer heaven fallen iron and reaching the magical treasure level, the monster's demon body was tough, yet it could not withstand its supreme sharpness. The foot, still in mid-air, was cut as if slicing through tofu, cleaved in two by Lu Qing. "Ah!" With another foot severed, the monster screamed agonizingly once again. This time, however, Lu Qing did not give it another chance. He stomped down, causing the ground to sink, and his body shot out explosively. Man and saber merged into one, the war saber leading, transforming into a streak of light, instantly piercing through the chest of the monster. By the time Lu Qing landed back on the ground, a giant 3-foot hole appeared at the heart of the monster, going straight through it. Inside, the heart had already been shredded into dust by the sword chi of Lu Qing, vanishing from sight. Having suffered such severe damage, the monster's massive body suddenly stiffened, and it screamed hoarsely. Its body swayed heavily and toppled backwards. Finally, with a thunderous crash, it struck against the wall behind it, shaking down many broken bricks, and stirred up another cloud of dust. However, this time, as the dust settled, no surprises occurred. The monster still lay on the ground, motionless. "Young Master Lu Wan?" Wei Xinghe watched this unfold, somewhat unable to react. He hadn't expected Lu Qing to win so effortlessly. Before him, the gigantic monster seemed to have no ability to fight back, completely at his mercy. As for the State Mansion City Lord and others nearby, they were entirely dumbfounded, extraordinarily shocked. Whether it was the giant monster or Lu Qing who had cut down the monster, the strength they had displayed was far beyond their expectations. "Idiot, had you not become so huge, it would have taken me some effort to deal with you." Lu Qing looked at the dying monster and shook his head. This fellow, after condensing its demon body, became incredibly powerful, and its demon body was tough, resistant to blades and swords. If it were an ordinary innate realm expert, perhaps even dozens of them at once could not harm it at all, because ordinary sword chi and sword chi simply couldn't break its defense. Unfortunately, it encountered Lu Qing. In Lu Qing's hands was a saber entirely crafted from outer heaven fallen iron. Just with its material alone, it was terrifying enough to rank as a magical treasure. No matter how robust the monster's demon body was, it could never withstand the sharpness of the magical treasure war saber. Thus, the monster's proudly immense demon body, before Lu Qing, did not pose any threat at all, but instead became its most fatal weakness. "I hadn't expected you to own a magical treasure-grade saber." After condensing its demon body, the demon cultivator's life energy was extremely tenacious. Even losing its heart did not cause it to die immediately. Instead, Lu Qing could still feel its life force not continuing to wane. It seemed to be using some secret technique to temporarily stabilize its injuries. The demon cultivator's gaze fell on the war saber in Lu Qing's hand. It knew that this time it was defeated by this saber. It had not expected that Lu Qing would possess a magical treasure-grade war saber. Had it known this beforehand, it would have fled immediately rather than hurriedly condense its demon body. And it wouldn't have engaged Lu Qing without having practiced many secret techniques. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a regret medicine in the world. Chapter 557. This time it had been defeated again, and the defeat was even more thorough than before. "Demon child, there is much you don't know." Lu Qing's expression was indifferent. He did not hurry to strike down the demon cultivator, but instead activated superpower to observe. Soon, a look of realization crossed his face. So it's just a half-finished demon body. No wonder he found the demon cultivator easier to deal with after it had condensed its demon body. Apart from brute force, it had nothing, a far cry from the legendary deviously cunning demon cultivators. Not to mention that this demon cultivator before his eyes was also a powerful demon general who had reincarnated from a great world. It turned out that because of his repeated interference, the demon cultivator's plan to sacrifice the state mansion city had been thwarted again and again. Forced to prematurely devour demon bones without having cultivated enough heavenly demon origin. In the end, due to insufficient heavenly demon origin, it only condensed a half-finished demon body and could go no further. And because it was only half-finished, many of its techniques and divine skills were unusable. Only the brute strength of the demon body itself could be wielded. Feeling Lu Qing's gaze that seemed to see through everything, the demon cultivator remembered the words Lu Qing had spoken earlier. Unable to help itself, it said, "Boy, how do you know the name of that one? Who in the world are you?" "That one," Lu Qing replied indifferently. "Are you referring to your former master?" "You indeed know." The demon cultivator's heart shook violently as it stared fixedly at Lu Qing. "Who are you? Really? Could it be that you, like me, have also reincarnated from some other place?" At this statement, those around them all trembled at the implications. Especially Yen, within the leaving fire tripod, was profoundly shaken. "What do you think?" Lu Qing did not answer the question. "I should have guessed it," the demon cultivator said, as if coming to a realization. "How could such an illogical prodigy monster like you possibly be born in this remote small world? Spiritual energy has only just begun to recover, yet you can invoke tribulation clouds and pass through the heavenly tribulation. Even in the heavenly origin great world, there are not many monstrous talents like you. So you, like me, are an old-timer from another world. Am I right or not?" The demon cultivator stared at Lu Qing, trying to discern some clue from his expression. However, Lu Qing's face remained unchanged. "Are you done talking? If you are, then you better be on your way." With that, the war saber in Lu Qing's hand suddenly flew out, shooting towards the demon cultivator's brow. The attack came swiftly and unexpectedly. Although the demon cultivator was on guard, with it gravely injured and hardly able to move, how could it withstand Lu Qing's lightning strike? It was instantly pierced through the brow by the war saber, its eyes wide open, its massive body shuddering violently, causing the city gates to tremble. Then its body went limp, its eyes gradually dimming, and the vitality within its demon body dissipated, bit by bit. Couldn't even manage to utter another half-sentence before being slain by Lu Qing. After killing the demon cultivator, Lu Qing didn't stop. He directly threw out a cloth bag. The cloth bag puffed up in the wind and soon grew to the size of a house. The opening of the bag widened, emitting a beam of blue light onto the enormous body of the demon cultivator. An astonishing scene unfolded. The demon cultivator's body floated up, shrinking while it was drawn toward the cloth bag, and just as it was about to be swallowed by it, finally, unable to withstand it any longer, a black light burst out from within the demon body, attempting to flee towards the outskirts of the city. "I've been waiting for you." Lu Qing was not the slightest bit surprised. As the black light emerged, he threw out a small cauldron. The cauldron moved at extreme speed, and in an instant, it caught up with the black light. How is this possible? Another spiritual artifact. The black light suddenly let out an incredulous divine soul fluctuation and was then swallowed by the small cauldron in one gulp, never to be heard from again. With the black light gone, the Chenkuan Chi bag's task of swallowing the demon body became much easier. A few moments later, the demon body was secured, the bag returning to its inconspicuous size and flying back into Lu Qing's hand. Having done all this, Lu Qing then cast his gaze towards the innate realm experts nearby. Originally, the state mansion city lord and the others, still shocked by the spectacle of the demon body being swallowed by the Chenkuan Chi bag, felt a chill run down their spines as they caught Lu Qing's gaze. Aside from Wei Xinghe, everyone felt uneasy, fearing that Lu Qing might silence them. After all, they had heard what the monster up front had said, and the treasures Lu Qing had just used were clearly remarkable. Who knew if this person would, in order to keep a secret, slaughter them all? Lu Qing noticed the fear and unease in the eyes of the city lord and his men, just as he was about to say something. Suddenly, he had this feeling in his heart, and he abruptly looked up towards the sky above. At the same time, the heavens and earth trembled, and an immensely grand heaven and earth Tao sound descended from the sky, resounding throughout the world. The fourth heaven and earth Tao sound? Lu Qing's heart shook, his face alternating between light and dark. This time, the Tao sound rang out abruptly, seemingly without any warning. And it happened just after he had slain the demon cultivator from another world. This really made him ponder quite a bit. Tao sound ringing again? Yan's voice also appeared in Lu Qing's mind, equally astonished and unsettled. Is the evolution of the heaven and earth rules proceeding too fast? Is this already the fourth time that the heaven and earth Tao sound has stirred? Senior, after the fourth heaven and earth Tao sound, what kind of changes will there be in the world? Lu Qing asked gravely. I'm not clear on that either, as this is my first time experiencing the spiritual energy recovery. However, the Lihua sect did once obtain some records about this. After the revival of the spiritual energy and the fourth Tao sound ceases, the heaven and earth rules will evolve further. In that time, the constraints on the strong will also be relaxed further. At the very least, cultivators at the Foundation establishment realm will no longer be extinct from the world. So, does that mean the strong ones in the four great secret places will no longer be constrained and can re-emerge in the world? Lu Qing's eyes flashed as he pondered. That's one way to put it, but it's also uncertain. After all, what I know is only based on the records unearthed by the Lihua sect from some secret land. Whether it's true or not remains to be verified. It should be correct. Lu Qing released his heart and spirit, carefully sensing the changes in the heaven and earth around him. Then he perceived that deep within the space, the heaven and earth rules were evolving rapidly. Those invisible constraints of the rules were quietly relaxing a lot. The rule ceiling that he was about to touch due to his breakthrough in cultivation had suddenly become much higher. So, Yan was right. After this time's Tao sound finished, the constraints on the strong from the heaven and earth would be greatly relaxed. The appearance of the heaven and earth Tao sound was beyond everyone's expectations. For a time, all the innate realm experts stood still, quietly listening to the Tao sound. After a while, once the last Tao sound ceased, and there were no more movements in the heaven and earth for a long time, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Although it wasn't their first time listening to the heaven and earth Tao sound, each sound with its vastness and grandeur, its profound implications of heaven and earth, still left all innate realm experts dare not show the slightest disrespect. All were careful and attentive as they listened. However, just when everyone thought it was all over, suddenly, there was another anomaly in the sky. A golden light descended from the heavens and fell upon Lu Qing, and it merged quickly into his body, entering the space of his forehead aperture. Eh? Lu Qing was extremely shocked by this surprise. This golden light came too abruptly, without any warning. Even he was unable to react in time. Little Li, protect me for a moment. In his alarm and anger, Lu Qing didn't care about anything else, and after instructing little Li, who was always hidden in the dark, he immediately immersed his heart and spirit into the aperture in his forehead to check the path of the golden light. When Lu Qing's heart and spirit entered the space of his forehead aperture, he saw a fist-sized golden light hovering in the space of the aperture. That golden light was warm and soothing. Simply looking at it brought a sense of peace and relaxation. It appeared very mystical. And when Lu Qing saw this ball of golden light, he was equally astonished. Because this golden light was not unfamiliar to him, no, he should say he was very acquainted with it. He would often see it on his master. Merit light. How can this thing appear in the space of my forehead aperture? Chapter 558. Wondrous uses of the merit light, refining the soul. So it turns out that this merit light was specially bestowed upon me by the heavens and earth in recognition of my act to slay that extraterritorial demon general and rescue tens of thousands of citizens of the State Mansion City? After some investigation within the space of his third eye point, Lu Qing came to understand the origin of this merit light. It was because he had killed a demon cultivator and resolved the calamity of the entire prefecture's citizens being sacrificed in a blood ritual. Thus, the heavens and earth were moved and bestowed merit. But how should this merit light be used? Looking at the merit light before him, Lu Qing found himself in a quandary. The merit he had received this time was even denser than what his master had. But he had no idea how to utilize this merit light. Neither Li Hua sect nor Divine Talisman sect's inheritances had any cultivation technique secrets related to the merit light. Lu Qing thought for a moment, then his heart and spirit withdrew from the third eye point. Elder Yen, do you know how to use the merit light? That golden light just now, was it merit light? Elder Yen was first taken aback, then realized, well, yes, it's normal for the heavens and earth to bestow merit since you saved the whole populace of State Mansion City this time. Are you suggesting, Elder, that this heavenly granted merit is not an exceptional case? Lu Qing asked. It is not a common occurrence, but during the ancient immortal cultivation era, heavenly granted merit was not too rare. Do you know why the righteous sects in the cultivation world have always emphasized the incompatibility of righteousness and evil, insisting on slaying demons and eradicating evil? A major reason is that doing so makes it easier to earn the favor of the heavens, aiding the smooth progress on one's cultivation path. If one could obtain heavenly bestowed merit light, that would be even more incredible. A cultivator protected by merit light not only encounters fewer obstacles on the cultivation path, but even when facing the heavenly tribulations of Golden Core and Primordial Spirit in the future, their storms will be much weaker than those facing other cultivators. Elder Yen spoke confidently, revealing some secrets about the merit light. Merit light has such a miraculous effect in withstanding heavenly tribulations? Now Lu Qing was truly surprised. Otherwise, do you really think there are so many righteous cultivators willing to risk perishing to call for the slaying of demons and eradicating evil every day? Young master, cultivators are the most ruthless, especially those old antiques who have lived for hundreds or even thousands of years. They cherish their lives the most. They wouldn't want to attract trouble for no good reason, much less risk their lives to fight demon cultivators for ordinary people. It's all because there's something to be gained, something that aids their own cultivation. Lu Qing gained some insight. He knew that Elder Yen was spot on. Cultivators cultivate chiefly to break through themselves and defy fate. It's not an overstatement to say they cherish their lives most and would not readily risk harm for common folk. Rather, it's the temptation of heavenly bestowed merit that draws them to eagerly slay demons and eradicate evil. Then, Elder Yen, how should this merit light be used? I'm not sure either. Elder Yen shook his head. Merit light is mystical and unusual. In the ancient immortal cultivation era, few were able to amass great merit and receive heavenly bestowed merit light. I have only heard that merit light has divine effectiveness during tribulation crossing, capable of significantly reducing the might of heavenly tribulations. This is also why, in ancient times, powerful cultivators planning to cross tribulations would choose to experience the mortal world for a period and accumulate good deeds and merit. As for other marvelous uses, I am also unclear. Back in the Li Hua sect, I never saw anyone obtain merit light. Saying this, Elder Yen couldn't help but sigh once again at Lu Qing's extraordinary fate. Merit light was truly mysterious. In ancient times, even those mighty beings standing at the apex of the cultivation world held it in high regard. Yet, merit light was not easy to acquire. The heavenly Tao seemed to have its own set of judgment criteria. It isn't just about doing good deeds and accumulating merit. One isn't guaranteed to receive it. Unexpectedly, Lu Qing, by simply slaying a demon cultivator not even at the foundation establishment stage, was able to receive heavenly bestowed merit light. If those mighty ancient cultivators knew, they would probably be green with envy. Even you, Elder, do not know. Lu Qing shook his head. If even Elder Yen, The old antique was unclear on how to use merit light. It seemed he could only keep it in his third eye point for now. After all, he could feel that the merit light was not harmful to him. On the contrary, he felt that under the illumination of the merit light, the entire space within his third eye point became more peaceful. The divine soul power bathing in it even seemed to be slowly increasing. Given these circumstances, he simply decided to leave it be for the time being. "Young Master Lu, are you all right?" Right when Lu Qing was pondering, a call entered his ears. It was Wei Xinghe who, seeing him meditating there, was worried that he might have been injured in the previous battle and asked with concern. As for the State Mansion City Lord and others, having witnessed Lu Qing's terrifying power, they were full of awe. They dared not disturb him. Even if Lu Qing was just standing there in a daze, they wouldn't dare show the slightest disrespect. "I'm fine. I was just thinking about something," replied Lu Qing, coming back to his senses with a smile. "By the way, Wei family master, have you found Zaheo?" "Right, Zaheo." Wei Xinghe remembered, quickly tapping into his heart and spirit perception. But soon, his countenance changed drastically. "Oh no, Zaheo is gone. What happened, Wei family master?" Lu Qing immediately asked. Earlier, when he was connecting with Wei Xinghe using the concealing talisman, there was no information regarding Wei Zaheo. "Young Master Lu, Zaheo was previously controlled by that demon cultivator with an evil technique, and he seemed like a different person." Chapter 559. Wei Xinghe quickly recounted Wei Zaheo's situation, emphasizing the significant change in his temperament. Before the array had even disappeared, Zaheo was still in the city, but now I cannot sense his presence at all. Wei Xinghe looked desperately anxious. He had a premonition that if Wei Zaheo had left secretly, it would be very difficult to find his eldest son afterward. With black runes on his body and a drastic change in his temperament, Lu Qing thought back to the Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples he had previously suppressed on the ground. The only difference was that those people had been severely injured by him and were still lying there unable to move. "Family Master Wei, don't panic. Let me take a look." Lu Qing released his heart and spirit, sensing the situation within the city. His divine soul power was much stronger than Wei Xinghe's. The range he could sense was far beyond what Wei Xinghe could compare to, because, under Lu Qing's full sensing effort, he soon discovered a hidden presence concealing itself somewhere. Lu Qing showed a trace of a smile. "Family Master Wei, I think I found the location." Then, under Wei Xinghe's surprised and delighted gaze, he disappeared. Quickly, everyone felt a strange energy suddenly burst forth in a street within the city. But it was only for an instant before it was abruptly suppressed again. Soon after, a few breaths later, Lu Qing reappeared before everyone, still holding a person in his hand. Wei Xinghe saw that it was none other than Wei Zaheo. However, at this moment, Wei Zaheo's eyes were tightly closed, and he was unconscious, having fallen into a coma. "Zaheo, Family Master Wei, rest assured, I've just temporarily sealed Zaheo's consciousness. He's been afflicted by a spell from that demon cultivator, and his mind is lost. It's quite troublesome. I'm afraid I will need to return and consult with my master to thoroughly investigate it before we see if there's a way to break it," Lu Qing explained. "That would be excellent," Wei Xinghe said, finally able to relax. "Now that the demon cultivator has been slain and the matter here is resolved, Family Master Wei, the talisman on Zaheo is extracting his life energy as the price for its power. We must resolve it quickly. Otherwise, if too much time passes, it will be greatly harmful to him. Shouldn't we return now?" Lu Qing suggested to Wei Xinghe. "In that case, let's return immediately," Wei Xinghe replied, his heart leaping again. He was reminded of the scene when he struggled against Zaheo. At the time, he was worried about Zaheo wielding a power far exceeding his own cultivation realm. There had to be a price. Hearing Lu Qing's words, how could he not be anxious? He wished he could fly back to Jili Village immediately so that Lu Qing and the elder doctor could save his son. The State Mansion City Lord and others were still waiting on the side. They had wanted to step forward to express their gratitude for being saved after Wei Xinghe and Lu Qing finished speaking. However, before they found the chance to offer thanks, Lu Qing and Wei Xinghe already talked about leaving. Immediately, the State Mansion City Lord hurriedly stepped forward. "Family Master Wei and Benefactor, are you leaving just like this? You've saved the entire State Mansion, and we haven't had the chance to thank you yet. Moreover, it's getting late now. Why don't the two of you depart tomorrow instead?" Wei Xinghe looked at Lu Qing, but he saw Lu Qing's indifferent expression and a slight shake of his head. Wei Xinghe immediately got the message. "City Lord, as you have seen, my unworthy son has been cursed by that demon cultivator, and we must return quickly to seek a way to save him. It is truly inconvenient to stay any longer. We acknowledge everyone's kind intentions. That demon cultivator was cruel and evil, harming the people. It was right for us to intervene. Now that the citizens of the city are still panicking, the urgent task at hand is for you, City Lord, to pacify the people. You don't need to trouble yourselves to host us any further." After Wei Xinghe finished his polite remarks, Lu Qing placed his hand on Wei Xinghe's shoulder. With a thought, a gentle breeze materialized, encircling them. The next moment, a whirlwind suddenly arose, and the figures of the three of them lifted off the ground and flew towards the outskirts of the city. Even as they passed by several heavily injured disciples of the Qingyun Sword Pavilion lying on the ground, a rope flew out of Lu Qing's hand, wrapping around them and taking them along. The people from the State Mansion City, including the City Lord, wanted to continue to persuade them to stay, but they ultimately didn't dare to do so. They could only watch as Lu Qing and the others flew away on the wind, faces filled with shock. It took a long while for everyone to recover their senses. Someone couldn't help but ask, "City Lord? Who is that young man? Where does he come from?" All eyes turned to the City Lord. In all of State Mansion City, if anyone had the most informed networks and eyes everywhere, it was him. However, they saw the City Lord shaking his head. "I don't know. This benefactor is someone I have seen for the first time. I have had no prior interaction with him." In his mind, however, he thought of how Wei Xinghe had addressed the young man as young Master Lu, which reminded him of some rumors recently coming from the royal capital. "Even you don't know?" The crowd was startled, but some people in the crowd had a sharp gleam in their eyes, pondering their own thoughts. Regardless of who this benefactor is, we have all witnessed his strength. He is an existence far beyond our imagination. Therefore, I advise everyone not to carelessly do anything that might offend him, lest you bring catastrophe upon yourselves. The City Lord advised as he scanned the crowd. "Rest assured, City Lord. That young master saved our lives. How could we dare to offend him?" The people replied one after another. Whether they really took it to heart, however, was unknown. Lu Qing, naturally, was unaware of the discussions among the City Lord and the others. Having used the power of his talisman to take Wei Xinghe and the others away, he flew for more than 10 miles before landing on the ground. "Family Head Wei, with my current cultivation realm, the power of the magic talisman I can use is limited. Next, I'm afraid we'll have to walk back." Lu Qing spoke without any reluctance to reveal his limitations. In fact, with his current divine soul power, it was not impossible for him to continue flying while carrying Wei Xinghe and the others by activating the power of his talisman. However, it would consume a great deal of his heart and spirit. 100 or 200 li would be manageable for him to endure. But the State Mansion City was 1,000 li away from Jili Village. It was pointless for him to keep up a tough front for that long. "You have worked hard, young Master Lu. By the way, who are these people?" Wei Xinghe felt no dissatisfaction but, instead, showed curiosity about the several people Lu Qing had roped and taken along. Because he noticed black runes on the faces and hands of these people, similar to those on Wei Zihao. These people should be Zihao's fellow disciples, who have also been cursed by the demon cultivator. "So I did not kill them. I wanted to try and see if I could save them," Lu Qing explained. To prevent the people tied up on the rope from struggling, Lu Qing also sealed away their consciousness, causing them to fall into unconsciousness. "Young Master Lu is truly compassionate. Wei Xinghe praised sincerely. At this moment, he recognized that these people seemed indeed to be Zaheo's fellow disciples, and they had even visited the Wei mansion before. He hadn't recognized them at first due to the runes covering their faces. By the way, young Master Lu, the curse on Zaheo and others, is it easy to lift? It was then that Wei Xinghe finally asked the question that had been on his mind. To tell the truth, I'm not entirely sure, Lu Qing contemplated before speaking. The demon cultivator's origins are mysterious, and he mastered very mysterious secret techniques. The curses he personally placed are likely not easy to remove. Wei Xinghe felt a jolt in his heart, realizing his worst fears might be true. From Lu Qing's earlier statement about needing to return and study the situation before finding a solution, he had begun to suspect as much. After a moment of silence, Wei Xinghe spoke. Whether the curse can be lifted in the end or not, it is Zaheo's fate. Unfortunately, the demon cultivator is already dead. Otherwise, maybe we could have forced out of him a way to dissolve the curse on Zaheo and the others. These words suddenly stirred something in Lu Qing's mind. A smile appeared on his face. That may not necessarily be the case. Family head Wei, let's not rush on our journey for now. There might still be a way. Wei Xinghe was momentarily astonished. Chapter 560. Divine Soul Enslavement. Lu Qing didn't directly explain the reason but found a cave, leaving Wei Xinghe to watch Wei Zaheo and those Qingyun Sword Pavilion disciples. Then he instructed little Li to secretly protect them after. Only then did he bring out the leaving fire tripod and enter it with his heart and spirit. Young Master. In the spiritual artifact space of the leaving fire tripod, upon seeing Lu Qing enter, Yan also manifested its form, still with that pair of horns on its head. Senior Yan, where is the demon cultivator's divine soul? Over here. Yan beckoned with its hand, and in the space of the artifact, a cage appeared, enclosing a strand of black air. The black air was constantly changing, occasionally revealing a face roaring within. There were appearances of disheveled figures that Lu Qing had seen before, as well as the fierce looks with green faces and fangs after becoming monsters, and even some other faces he hadn't seen before. However, because the spatial cage could shield all perceptions inside, the demon cultivator's roaring couldn't be heard. Young Master, this demon cultivator must have an extraordinary background. Despite not even being in the Foundation establishment realm before, it possesses such a refined divine soul origin. Even after being stripped of its body, it has not dissipated. Such an ability even a cultivator in the Golden Core realm might not have it. Yen looked at the trapped divine soul in the spatial cage and expressed its surprise. It had lived for tens of thousands of years and had never seen such a situation before. This demon indeed has another story. Lu Qing nodded but didn't reveal any more information. Yen felt a stirring in its heart, remembering the words the demon cultivator had said before. Senior Yen, please release it. With a wave of Yan's hand, the spatial cage trapping the demon cultivator's divine soul was removed. As the spatial cage disappeared, the demon cultivator's divine soul immediately tried to escape. But soon, an overwhelmingly powerful force of binding pressed down on it, leaving it utterly unable to move. Demon child, there's no use struggling. In my space, you cannot do anything. Yen, seeing the demon cultivator's divine soul still trying to struggle, said indifferently. The demon cultivator's soul suddenly paused, realizing it truly couldn't escape, and stopped struggling. Kid, I really didn't expect you to control two spiritual artifacts simultaneously. If I'm not mistaken, I am now in a spiritual artifact space. That cloth bag you threw out to collect my body, that's also a spiritual artifact, right? The demon cultivator's soul emitted fluctuating waves. You're not wrong. Lu Qing didn't deny it. A mere qi refinement cultivator controlling two spiritual artifacts. Kid, you have a fate dense enough to make anyone jealous. Do you know, you are deeply planted with calamity, and you might fall into an irreversible disaster in the future. The demon cultivator, trapped in the cage, didn't seem panicked but warned Lu Qing instead. Oh? How am I to face such an irreversible disaster? Asked Lu Qing. Kid, don't think I'm trying to scare you. The soul of the demon cultivator transmitted its vibrations. The more prosperous your fate, the more bounties of heaven and earth you receive. The deeper your entanglement with the heavenly Tao of this world, the more karma you will have to bear. Right now, you might not notice anything, but in the future, as your cultivation grows deeper, when you reach the primordial spirit realm, you will find that if karma remains on you, it is nearly impossible to make a breakthrough. You'll be forever trapped in the primordial spirit realm, unable to advance an inch. Moreover, some karma, when you are undergoing the tribulation of the primordial spirit, will turn into a heart demon and erode your divine soul. Then you will know what besieged by karma, life worse than death means. The demon cultivator's soul's words became more and more terrifying, even making Yen feel a bit alarmed. It remembered some of the things that the primordial spirit great powers of Lihua sect had said about the primordial spirit realm, feeling a profound shock in its heart. On the contrary, Lu Qing still wore a nonchalant look, seemingly unafraid by the demon cultivator's soul's words. He merely asked lightly, "Since you are so well informed, is there a way to resolve it? Are you scared?" Hearing this, the demon cultivator's soul secretly felt a touch of relief. However, it didn't show it and said earnestly, "If you want to know the method of resolution, it's not difficult. If you are willing to cooperate with me, I can teach you the technique to avoid disaster. Don't doubt my ability, since you know my origins. You should also know that, with my former status, mastering such a technique is not difficult. One of the 108 demon generals under Black Sky Demon Venerable of heavenly origin Great World, indeed a significant background. However, do you think that since I know your origins, I wouldn't understand the technique to remove karma myself?" Lu Qing's tone remained calm, but his words caused the shock in the demon cultivator's mind, twisting its soul. It couldn't help but blurt out, "Who exactly are you?" The demon cultivator thought it had hidden its true identity deeply enough, never revealing it to anyone. So it couldn't understand how Lu Qing could know its origins. To know when it was being chased by the righteous factions and fleeing through the starry sky, about to perish. It had cast the rebirth technique in a random direction. Back then, even it wasn't sure it could be reborn successfully. That even in this life, it was only after many reincarnations that fortune smiled upon it, and it fortuitously broke the mystery of the fetus and awoke.